Good morning. Would members of the Economic Development Committee please report to Committee Room 1 for quorum?
You're directing it to there rather.
Good morning. Would members of the Economic Development Committee please report to Committee Room 1 for quorum?
Good morning. I'd like to ask members of the Economic Development Committee to report to Committee Room 1. And we have 2 minutes to get started. If we don't start in 2 minutes, then this meeting is not going to take place. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And just before we get started, I just want to remind members that the meeting's supposed to start at 9:30. Councillor Carroll's here, has been here for a while. Councillor Frакadakis has been here. I've been here. We have other councillors who have not arrived and are just now showing up. It seems to me that every meeting we actually have, there is a tremendous strain to get members of council to attend to their duties as members of this committee. I'm, for one, sick and tired of it, and I will not accept this any further. Members who wish to be on this committee, obviously, they have a choice to be here or not to be here. And Councillor Frакadakis and myself and Councillor Carroll are very concerned, quite frankly, because people don't show up for the meeting. The public's here. Why should they be actually waiting and having their days be disrespected, quite frankly, and you know, it's frustrating. And I just wanted to just reiterate, it's very disrespectful to the public that every time we have these meetings, people don't show up. I come from Scarborough, very far. It's about 40 minutes to get here. I'm always here on time. And I think there are other people who are closer, Councillor Carroll and others, and thank you very much for being here. Right, and I just want to reiterate, it's very disrespectful to the public. And I think we really need to set a better example. And I think it's inappropriate for us to conduct ourselves in this particular fashion. So I think from now on, I want to remind everyone you have a duty and obligation, and quite frankly, you're being paid to be here, right? You're being paid to be here. And so if you don't want to be here, that's your prerogative. But if you're being paid to be here to represent the people that's voted for you, be here. It's very upsetting to the public. All right, so members, I'd like to get the meeting started. Declaration of interest on the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Are there any? Seeing none, thank you. I'd like to ask for confirmation of the minutes of the October 14th, 2015 meeting. Councillor Carroll, moving. Yep. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We have a number of speakers this morning. I think we have a total of 9 speakers, Madam Clerk. All right, are there any communications and additional materials? We do have a number of, and they have all been distributed to members. Would like to ask you to take a moment to review those so that when those items come up, we have the information that's been fully digested. All right, moving right along. 88.1, the state of business improvement areas in the city. It's a presentation. Mr. Carew is here. Mr. Miskin is here. So I will hold that particular item. 88.2, Toronto Youth Employment Action Plan update. We have speakers on that item. I will hold that item. 88.3, Deputy Mayor's Economic Development Advisory Body. We have speakers on that particular item. I will hold. 88.4, Design Exchange, DX Operation and Funding Update. I believe that Ms. Levy will be here shortly, so I will hold that particular item.
We can't just move them?
I think Ms. Levy is here for a presentation. She's going to make a presentation on that item. Okay.
Well, then further to your comments this morning, I just have to remind people that I have a budget committee this
Yes.
afternoon, so we got to fit this all in this morning.
Yep.
Unless other members can promise to be here to form quorum.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Thank you. So I'll hold that down. 88.5, redesigning the vacant commercial and industrial tax relief program. We have a speaker on that particular item, 8.5, so we'll hold that. 88.6, Business Improvement Area, BIA's 2016 operating budgets report. Councilor Rakadakis is moving that. Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. 88.7, DuPont by the Castle Business Improvement Area, BIA boundary expansion pole. Councillor Rakadakis is moving that. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much, Councillor. 88.8, appointments to Business Improvement Area Boards of Management. Okay, Councillor Carroll is moving that. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. 88.9, Canada 150th Planning for 2017.
If I could hold that, I
Okay.
have a motion to add to it. Yeah.
Fair enough. Councillor Carroll, I'll hold that in your name. 88.10, request for detailed report on the feasibility of the City of Toronto displaying its 2017 New Year's Eve fireworks from the CN Tower, as well as Nathan Phillips Square.
Mr. Chair, this is really just asking for a report. It was forwarded here rather than ask them to do the report, so I can just move that the report be prepared.
Okay.
Well, I think I seconded. I did point that out to the mover as I was signing on to seconding it. That it would be better if he worded it goes to ECDAB because it could come here in January and then be in
Right,
council by
but as a
February.
member motion, I went to council, sent to this committee, and then we'll get it off to staff. Because it's 2017, right?
He didn't want to amend it, as you know, if you'll note the mover of the motion, but suffice it to say, the intent of the motion is that in such time as it could actually happen per Canada, we would need the report to happen in enough advance for it to be
So
effective.
we would have it come back to this committee in January,
Yes,
January
that's-
15th committee meeting. Is
Yeah,
that okay with
yeah.
everybody? All right, okay. So, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, that is concluded 8.10. Okay, members, 8.11, Annual Canada Day Fireworks Display at Nathan Phillips Square. We're going to hold that. We have a speaker on that item. Moving right along, 8.12, additional 3D Toronto signs. We have a speaker on that particular item as well. Okay, and that's a memo from, motion from Councillor Kelly. All right, so, and then we are now at ED 8.13, Music Sector Development Activities and Goals of the Film and Entertainment Industry Unit. Yes, okay. Hold that. All right, and ED 8.14, Dashboard. We have a speaker on that item, so we will hold that as well. So members, we have a number of items that are being held, and we have speakers and so on. We have 9 speakers as to my last count, and there may be others as well. So I'm going to impose that we really focus in order to get through the agenda. There's a number of people. The DCM has a commitment at 1:30, and Councillor Carroll, a number of others relating to budget meeting that's taking place at 1:30. So it'd be really great if we were able to get through. I'd like to welcome visiting councillors, Mayor Margaret McMahon and Councillor Christian Wong Tam, who are here with us. So thank you very much, and we're hoping your items will come up very soon. So, Mr. Carew, Mr. Miskin, thank you very much. You were here the last time, and unfortunately, we were not able to get to your item. We have slotted you first, and we welcome you again. You're no stranger to this committee, so you are on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee councillors and visiting councillors. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here on the 45th anniversary of the inception of the BIA movement. In fact, the very first BIA happened in 1970 right here in the city of Toronto, Bloor West Village. And we'd like to think that this ultimate private-public partnership is probably Toronto's best export. It's gone worldwide. Over 300 in the province of Ontario, some 700 BIAs in Canada. They call them IDAs, and they're all over the world. So thank you again. Thank you for supporting us all through the years. Just a little bit of background on Toronto's 82 business improvement areas. We represent 35,000 businesses and property owners. We employ over 400,000 full and part-time employees across our BIAs, and we generate $1.3 billion in taxes from our members across the 82 BIAs. This represents 23% of all taxes collected by the City of Toronto, and in fact, 50% of all the commercial and industrial taxes collected by the city. In addition to the taxation at all levels of government, we as BIAs levy ourselves to the tune of $35 million that we invest in our neighborhoods, communities, businesses, and festivals. There are a lot of good news associated with BIAs. The Financial District invested significant dollars in their public realm strategy. Waterfront BIA has continued on with their strategic plan, and finally, after 3 years of construction, that area is second to none in terms of waterfront accessibility and enjoyment. The 2016 Waterfront Redpath Waterfront Festival, which is to include in 16 the Blue Nose. The Blue Nose is coming back. The BIA is bringing the Blue Nose back to Toronto's Harbourfront in 16. And festivals and events, whether it's the Wexford, the Ukrainian, the Polish, the Greek Taste of the Danforth, all these festivals this year set record numbers in attendance. So there is a lot to celebrate, and we will continue to do our part to improve the economic and social well-being in our neighborhoods. We would like to bring your attentions to a couple of issues. I'll have Lionel, who is the Vice President of Tabia and the Chair of our Tax Committee, speak to a couple of items that we've been tracking and that I think the committee should be brought up to speed on. So, Lionel.
Morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. At the October meeting of this committee, Councillor Kelly commented that the 21st century is one of economic competition among cities. I thought that was entirely apropos of what I will be saying to you this morning. And I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag when I say that Ontario is having difficulty attracting industry to the province or even keeping what we have, and it's even more difficult to attract it to Toronto. For business, the deterrents are mostly cost and regulation. Aside from trying to minimize its regulatory regime, there's not a whole lot that a municipality can do to overcome those deterrents, but there are areas where a municipality can wield significant influence. For most businesses, the most important area is property tax. We at Tabia had been telling City Council and its finance administrators that a disproportionately high property tax was impairing Toronto's business sector and ultimately would lead to reduced revenue as businesses abandon the city. After some years, the finance people realized that our predictions were actually being realized. The then Mayor, David Miller, recognized the problem and introduced the program to reduce the tax ratio. Whereas the property tax rate on business was approximately 5 times higher than the residential rate, he proposed to reduce that ratio to 2.5 to 1. Council, in its wisdom, adopted the program and continued it. That program, after many years, is finally on track to achieve the intended result, but still has years to run. I want to emphasize that the program has progressed without significant political opposition, in large part because people began to realize the necessity for it, but also because the actual tax on commercial property did not decrease. It continued to rise, but it rose at a slower rate than did the residential property tax. So what Tabia is saying now is don't curtail the program. It is having the desired effect. So let it run further until the ratio is 2 to 1. In other words, just continue on the same principles where the commercial property tax rate rises more slowly than the residential rate to achieve that ratio of 2 to 1 and aim for 2025 as the target for full implementation. The second big property tax issue is how the provincial government administers the business education tax. That is the other portion of the city's tax bill that the city collects for the province. It is designated on the bill as education tax, but in fact the money just goes into general revenues. Accordingly, money raised in Toronto can be used elsewhere in the province and not necessarily for education. So there's a bit of a misnomer. The province fixes the rate annually. The problem for Toronto business is that the province does not impose a uniform rate. It prescribes a different rate for each municipality, and it discriminates heavily against Toronto. Here are some examples, and you can see them on the slide, examples for the 2015 for commercial property. If you're a business in the region of Halton on a property, you are paying a rate of 0.00882785. The rate for Toronto is significantly higher. The rates for Peel and York in between. But what this means on the ground in actual dollars is that a business in Halton on a property assessed at $1 million will pay I'm rounding these numbers slightly, they'll pay $3,500 less than a business in Toronto on a similarly assessed property. Now, there aren't that many commercial properties in Toronto still going to be assessed under $1 million. And as that assessment value increases, then the dollar discrepancy increases with it. So it is becoming more and more difficult for Toronto businesses to compete with the surrounding municipalities where the rates are significantly lower. So it's no wonder that studies by experts in the property tax field have described this tax as arguably the most inequitable provincial tax in Canada. And the discrepancy continues notwithstanding repeated promises by the provincial government to rectify it. What astounds us at Tabia is that although this system has prevailed ever since CVA came into effect, so that's virtually almost 20 years, we have never heard any Toronto councillor object to this discriminatory tax, a tax which heavily penalizes the city in all of its efforts to attract business and employment. Why is that? Why is our council not standing up for Toronto businesses and insisting on fair taxation and equal treatment? We urge you to do so, and what better place to raise it than at the newly formed Ontario-Toronto Burden Reduction Working Group. Lastly, deja vu. St. Clair all over again. Construction on Eglinton Avenue, continuing for years, and many merchants in dire straits. Not acceptable. It's a big blot on the city, and a shameful one. Even for those businesses which survive the construction, the losses can never be made up. And the losses are not merely financial. There's enormous stress on the proprietors, their health, their families, and employees. The answer, as Tabia sees it, is to recompense them. The losses which businesses will suffer should be treated as part of the project cost. When a project is costed out, those losses should be added to the expense column and used as compensation. The cost to the city, when compared to the multi-billion-dollar cost of such projects, are insignificant and would not add an insurmountable burden, but at least that loss would be borne by all taxpayers and not loaded onto the backs of a relatively small number of business owners, their families, and employees. We know the mayor is concerned about this, and we urge you to urge council to address it. So that's my remarks, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for hearing me, and I turn it back to John.
Thank you, Lionel. I will carry on some policy and program issues that we've identified and that I'm hoping this committee will take into consideration as it moves its program. There is an increased need for BIAs and the city's BIA office to be on the ground floor of city policy, their programs and regulation review. BIAs are local boards of council with authority to engage in direct spending on public realm improvements and maintenance, Main Street events, entertainment, animation, and public safety. This relationship should compel the city to treat BIAs as civic partners rather than stakeholder groups or interested parties. New or revised policies, programs, regulations can have considerable negative impact on the economic vitality of individual businesses and business districts, and it is imperative that BIAs and the city's BIA office be at the table during the early development of policies and reviews. Tabia believes that economic development, culture division in general, and the BIA office specifically need a senior staff member to be dedicated to the advancing of the BIA-related interest and playing a more prominent role in city policy, programs, regulations, and reviews. BIAs are volunteer boards. They don't have the time to track all that is going on. I think it's imperative that BIAs be brought up to speed by an individual that looks after the small business interest through the BIA office. We've also noticed a lack of input from economic development to other departmental reports. Over the past few years, there has been an absolute absence of comment from economic development, and for that matter, from other departments on any number of reports that are developed by other departments. The lack of a review through the lens of economic impact leaves us all very vulnerable. So there really is a need, again, for that senior advisor to track all city reports, council decisions, directions, provincial legislation that will have cause and effect on the interest of local BIAs and report out on any reports that are generated across the city. It has become also very clear that the environment within which BIAs operate has become more complex and demanding, both in terms of operational changes in developing and executing a BIA's program, its improvements. So what we're suggesting is that we need to build out an education and a training ability for not only the boards of management, but also for staff. We need to develop a program that will build in minimum standards to improve the quality of the relationship between the city and the way BIAs operate. We also believe that we need an improvement in the corporate awareness of the value and importance of small business in decision-making. You gotta forgive me, but I think the city still doesn't seem to get it. Small retail, office, restaurant, and services businesses are employers, often of youth and more advanced sectors of our working force. They're entrepreneurial. They often move into less than serviceable space and improve it for themselves and future users. They help keep our main streets engaged and safe. Yet some city policies seem to purposefully make it harder to run a small business. Take, for example, the proposed new sidewalk cafe regulations. Some of the ideas are brilliant, but others, such as the proposed fees and the hike of those, makes no sense at all. The city should be encouraging, not discouraging, sidewalk cafes. Think of your favorite summertime Main Street. And I would suggest that if you were to remove that cafe or some of those lounges, that it would be a significantly worse place to visit and enjoy. After all, our city development and construction are creating 400, 500, 600 square foot condos. It is the BIAs and their restaurants and businesses that are living room, dining rooms, and kitchens of many of those people. We are adopting that European philosophy of enjoying our social time in the streets of Toronto, in our parkettes, in our squares, and in our businesses. Cost share. No one can argue that the City of Toronto's cost share, capital cost share program is the best anywhere. Many BIAs are, and jurisdictions come to Toronto to see how we propose and work in our cost share programs. Those are those banners, those flowers, the seasonal lighting decorations that are out throughout many of the neighborhoods. This program, unfortunately, has not increased in available funding. We've gone from 67 BIAs from amalgamation to 82 right now, yet the dollars committed have increased very slightly, nowhere near the demand that is exposed out there. As a result, we suggest that a review be done, an opportunity to increase potentially those cost share opportunities. Not to say it hasn't been done, but we still feel that we are lagging behind on the opportunity. BIAs want more, but they want to invest more. And we've shown that through our $35 million that we have available each and every year to invest in opportunities around the city. I won't talk about the graffiti initiatives that are out there, some wonderful stuff, innovative stuff that was done around graffiti removal. The other area that I'm really hopeful to speak to is the cost of administrative raids. In some instances, the administration cost for BI projects is as high as 29%, resulting in the effectiveness and impact of these projects because BIA dollars are spent on admin rather than physical outcomes. In the private sector, these costs are traditionally in the neighborhood of 7.5% to 12.5%, nowhere near the 29% that the BIAs are asked to borne. BIAs are an ABC of the municipality, and some consideration surely needs to be given to internal partners. I can tell you that the Financial Districts program paid their 29% in their infrastructure program that they undertook. The amount of dollars that they paid into the city was enough to staff 2 people in that department, equivalent to 2 salaries. That money should have gone into investing in the neighborhoods and the community. I know I'm running out of time here, so number of business improvement areas. This just shows the correlation between the BIAs that are out there, where we've gone to, and the amount of the cost share dollars that are attributed, where there is a disproportionate relationship with that. Same as back into the Toronto communities, the levies that we invest back into local areas, and where the capital cost share has leveled out. We're around 4.2 versus the 35 million that we're investing. So really, at the end of the day, we come down to the fact that expand the capital cost share program is a request. Review the cost share program in light of where the BIAs are and the amount of dollars that are out there. And again, I want to reiterate, we are moving a little bit, but we just feel that we need to expedite that. And we need to improve Toronto's business tax competitiveness. Please continue to lower the commercial to residential tax rate, as noted by Lionel. And I know that I believe your report 8.3 today from the Deputy Mayor, Norm Kelly was at that time leading that, and Michael, the task force has submitted a report for you, and it's absolutely parallel to the position that Lionel and I have stated today in that regard. So it's not only us, it's other business community, unorganized businesses, industry that support a continuation of Toronto's competitiveness through taxation. Mr. Chairman, I will leave it at that for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carew. Let me check to see whether or not there are questions from visiting members of council. I know members of the committee have questions. I will ask Councillor Davis to begin first, and then Councillor Wong Tam. Thank you.
What is the Ontario-Toronto Burden Reduction Group?
Well, as it happened yesterday, the mayor and Premier Duguid has invited a number of stakeholders across the province and the city to talk about reducing some of the burden, some of the red tape and the duplication, something that the province in their delivery system and some of the licensing, et cetera, that it takes place through the City of Toronto, where there's an opportunity to bring those together to reduce the burden of whether it's vehicle licenses or any other deliverables that are administered by the city. So there is a review. It's sort of what they call a Pearl review.
What
Michael
review?
Williams, I think, Mr. Chair, was there. If you can elaborate on that, I think you'd probably be in a better position. Okay, fair enough. The city,
Are there questions of staff after?
okay,
Okay.
okay.
You're recommending that there be some kind of way to compensate businesses affected by construction. And I'm wondering if you've given thought to the details of how that might work.
I think, Councillor, there's enough history now in Toronto that when a project is planned, we would know how long that project is going to take and what effect that's going to have on the businesses which are going to be affected by it. And there's sufficient, should be sufficient historical data now that we can anticipate what kind of losses in revenue are going to result from it, because we've done so many projects over so many years here. So that figure should be added, in our opinion, to the cost of the project.
So the developers should pay.
However that gets allocated, and I guess it would depend how the costs of the project are allocated.
Okay.
Who's going to bear those costs? But what we're saying is it shouldn't be on the backs of those businesses that are affected.
So we just approved in the last year a new lane occupancy fee. So we do charge for any construction that uses the public right-of-way. I suppose that might be something that could be built on, and maybe
That is, Councillor, that is one of the ways of doing it. More importantly, on some of the major projects that take place, whether it's the Sinclair or Eglinton right now, the cost of those projects are borne by many levels of government. We know it's millions, if not billions of dollars that are involved in it. We also know what the assessed value of those properties that are going to be impacted is. So we can, through the Toronto Act, have the ability to introduce a construction tax rate instead of a traditional commercial tax rate that is applied across commercial property across the city. During a time of construction that's been identified in an area, we can introduce a tax rate that is somewhat less than the traditional rate. And that calculation could be put on the line as a cost of the project. And that way we bring in less from those businesses.
Oh, I see. So it would
But
be
it's
like a
incorporated into the cost of the
credit
project.
almost
Yep.
for a period of time.
Yep.
Okay. One of the things we did introduce in the last few years, and I don't think you addressed it, was you've asked to expand the cost share program, but the loan program that offers loans to BIAs to allow them to pay back over multiple years and to have multiple year projects. What has been your experience with that?
There has been an opportunity to take that up. BIAs are somewhat reluctant to commit other boards and future businesses to significant long-term commitments. It is absolutely an option, and BIAs are collecting dollars to make sure that that happens. But the preferred method continues to be to do the 50-50 capital cost share that was started by the City of Toronto many years ago, where the BIAs collect their 50% and then have the city undertake the project.
So we
Thank
often
you,
have...
Councilor Davis. That's your last
Oh.
question. This will be your last question.
Okay. We often have a situation where the BIAs put forward an ambitious capital program. They start levying for that, and then our budget is approved well into the new year, and we don't have sufficient capital to be able to finance all of the capital projects that are put forward by the BIAs. Do you have any suggestions about how to change the process so that at least the asks are meeting or matching the budgets?
Other than committing more dollars to the
Yes.
program, that ultimately would be the ideal solution.
Okay.
There's no question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councilor Wong Tan, you have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you elaborate on the impact or perhaps lost opportunities if we don't expand our capital share program? Like, how long is the wait time for BIAs who have these, whether it's modest street improvement initiatives or perhaps more ambitious ones?
The challenge is, look, there is years where we've left money on the table, whether we've not collected a number of our dollars, et cetera. What's happened over the last few years, the BIA program has become significantly more sophisticated. Some of the larger BIAs are coming on board, whether it's the entertainment district, whether it's financial district, et cetera. Their capital projects are significantly larger than those of some of the smaller neighborhoods, be it the Village, be it Leslieville, and some of the others. So there is a time and there is opportunity out there where one project potentially, or two projects from some of the larger BIAs will leave the well dry for some of the others that had planned and tried to take advantage. Credit to the BIA Office in Economic Development. They have a criteria that if construction is going on in an area where you can piggyback on it, so there is preference given out there. But what we're trying to mitigate is the potential for that well to go dry, to give all the BIAs that are growing up, the new ones that are coming up, the opportunity to take advantage of this program. So whether it's increase in lighting and public safety, whether it's the beautification of neighborhoods, a number of those items get left on the table because potentially some projects are moved forward. So I think what we're trying to be is a little forward thinking. Don't get me wrong. Staff do a great job. We have a great relationship with staff from the general manager all the way down to our advisors, many of whom are here. It's a great program. It's working well, but we're starting to see some pressures, and we're here to suggest that there may be an opportunity for us to keep moving the program forward.
Would it be helpful to split up the cost share program so you have a bucket of funds available to smaller BIAs, for example, those who with budgets less than $750,000. And then we have some other BIAs where we've got annual budgets up to $2 million and over. So I recognize that, you know, a dollar stretched on Bloor Yorkville doesn't get us very far because we're looking at granite pavers, but a dollar perhaps in the western area could go much further. Would that be helpful?
I think ultimately that may be an alternative, but my suggestion would be that collectively between ECDEV, the BIAs, TABIA, we sit down and have a review, if you will, of the program and see whether there is those opportunities to potentially do that, or whether there is other ways to make sure that the dollars get maximized to their full potential.
Has it ever been explained to you why the city's administrative costs are, for example, sometimes twice as much as the private sector's pass-through admin markup costs?
No, not really. It's one of those things that we would like to have thought that since BIAs are creatures of the municipality, that there would be some courtesy of internal costing as well as anything else. Quite frankly, when we do capital cost share projects, you know, if curb cut replacement is a part of that, and that's where a significant portion of that goes, the design teams out of the BIA office, the BIA projects, could potentially take that on as a part of their capital cost share program, that maybe it doesn't need to go out where it's going to cost us 29%.
So just a final question. Every single BIA in the city has assigned to them a BIA officer, a BIA staff person that acts as a conduit between the City of Toronto and the BIA office and the BIA Board of Management. In your presentation, you outlined that perhaps there wasn't enough input from economic development culture. I'm going to guess you didn't finish the word, so I'm thinking it's staff or the committee to other divisions as, you know, policies roll out. Is there not an opportunity for that constructive strategy dialogue between the BIA Board of Management to your staff liaison that's assigned at the City of Toronto that can come back through this proper channel, rather than creating another, I guess, another working group or another advisory group?
It's your last question, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Absolutely, there is advisors, as they're referred to each and every BIA. I don't think that number of advisor has increased in the last 5 or 6 years as BIAs have increased. So certainly the workloads there probably need a look-see. That said, I think it's important that when somebody is committed to tracking, whether it's at the provincial level, because there's provincial policy and legislation that has effect on BIAs, city reports that come from any number of departments, for somebody to track the cause and effect. The one that I can refer to very quickly is the sign bylaw, the proposal of the sign bylaw, third-party signage, the sign bylaws that are out there, etc. That report was not reviewed through the economic impact lens to see what impact it would have on small business. That was totally absent until we asked at a deputation to have that, and the committee in their wisdom asked for that to come back. Many of these small businesses that are operating on main streets bought in good faith properties that have third-party signage on the roof. They incorporated that into the cost of carrying that business. And to potentially lose that immediately or through a phased-out period will have an impact on their ability to pay their mortgage payments, pay their taxes, etc. It's a part of their model. And yet, nowhere through that deliberation, through that review of the sign bylaws in this city, have anybody taken a look at it from the economic impact lens. And it's those sort of things that we're hoping that somebody could be dedicated, because there was a lot. I try to track as much of it. You guys see me here regularly, as you know, and we try to bring that to the attention. But really, I think staff, or at least an individual within one of the departments, would be more than capable to review that and make comment to those reports.
Thank you very much. Now, we'll bring this matter into committee. First questioner is Councillor Carroll.
Thank you. There are a number of points here, but some we'll take up with staff. The ones that are our responsibility, it's not that I'm skirting past them and zipping right to the province. It's just that we'll illuminate when we're questioning staff. But the issue of the education tax, the provincial education tax, I have a problem with the frame of it's all going in general revenue. In fact, the total amount of education tax collected in the province is commensurate with the Ministry of Education's budget. Their accounting system is much like ours. Revenue in, you fill up the pot, and then each ministry comes in and applies for their budget. I'm wondering if the small businesses understand that the issue is not that they're not funding education, it's that they're not funding education in the City of Toronto. So a small business in overpaying is actually building a new school in Halton Region.
That's
And
quite possible.
that, in fact, is the issue.
That is one of the issues, but the real issue is the inequitable application of the tax. It's not
Right.
imposed at the same rate across the province. So it seems to me that if we're going to have a tax, it ought to be imposed equally on all people, rather.
Right, but you understand that what they have done is structured it so that the urban core cities are actually funding their own education system plus areas elsewhere in the province. And that, in fact, if businesses are advocating to the province that they want to change to this, they actually ought to attack that issue. How much should you be asking Toronto businesses to pay to build a new school in Halton? That's the issue.
Yeah, well, from the taxpayer's point of view, the question is, what is this amount on my tax bill?
Right, right.
And where the money goes is probably of much less concern than what he's going to have to pay out of pocket to keep his business going.
Right, but you did start by making the point that it's an issue that it's going into general revenue. And the
Yes.
point I'm making that is not the issue. So if we're going to talk about the issue, let's talk about the issue. The frame it's going into general revenue that's a function of how we do accounting in the public sector. But where it's going is outside of Toronto. And I get the general taxpayer, but you're here as an advocacy organization. So if you're going to go and advocate to the province, you would want to attack the real issue here, which is how much do we want to burden Toronto businesses with an education system that's 700 miles away?
Councillor, I can assure you that we have advocated at the province and have made that point as strongly as we can.
Okay, and they were at one point, they were phasing it in lockstep due to our advocacy here at City Hall. When we started the Enhancing Toronto's Business Climate, they were phasing it down. They were trying to calibrate it, but they stopped at some point. Mr. Williams tells me they pulled out of doing that at some point, unbeknownst to us.
You are correct, Councillor. It actually started prior to the Liberal government. It started under the Conservative government and continued until the Liberal government came in. It was halted then, it was restarted.
Right.
And now what we're getting are promises that when the provincial deficit is eliminated, which was supposedly, I think, originally 2013 or 2014.
Oh, okay, so that recently.
But but now it's been extended to 2018, and if you believe that the deficit will be reduced to zero by 2018, I think you're living in a different world. So there's no sign to us that, in actual fact, the government really intends to reduce that levy to equal it out.
And
So the
just to-
phase
just-
reduction program ended in 2014, is that what I heard you say?
I can't.
It was around the 2014 budget with the promise that it would be resurrected once they balanced their books in 2017. The irony of that whole thing was, you're absolutely right, it started to come down, and they took it off the books just when Toronto was going to see some leverage. We absolutely, through those 4 years that it took place, Toronto was not within the band that they were operating in when those reductions came in, and literally months before Toronto was actually going to see a reduction in that, or at least some equalization, it's where they stopped it.
So that's a very specific and workable request that would actually be useful work for this burden group.
Last question.
Yeah, I had one other line of questioning, and it's about the burden of our taxation on small businesses, small retail in particular, which is the strength of the BIA, I'm noticing that at first we thought, well, this isn't going to work, but I'm noticing in nooks and crannies all over the place when I'm taking shortcuts downtown that the retail grade in new condos is starting to be occupied. Like if you look where the Thompson Hotel is, the condos on either side of it, it's starting to fill up with stores. The question is, in that design, how are they taxed? Is it possible that under a condo board, they might be being overburdened, or are they, to get those stores filled, in fact, undertaxing them initially? Is that something we could work on?
I think that's a little more complicated than the tax. The commercial tax across the city is consistent, so there is no incentive in that capacity.
So there's no incentive added?
Yeah,
Okay.
so there's no incentive added. You may find a difference in the way those properties are assessed.
Yes.
Because let's face it, taxation is X times Y equals Z, assessment times tax rate. Tax rate is consistent. Construction post 2007 in the commercial side of things is assessed at a different rate, including at the business education tax. The business education that is taxed to a property from 2007 is at the destination rate, versus property immediately next to it that was there prior to 2007 is paying the higher burdened tax rate on education.
Right.
So there is a different factors that are at play with new property versus old, but commercial assessment across the city is consistent.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Grisanti had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, good morning, gentlemen. So we have a relatively extensive capital streetscape program. We also have a mural program, a commercial storefront improvement program. So what concerns me is, I heard earlier, I believe it was Mr. Crew who mentioned that there's money left on the table. And so I'd like to know if you've had a look at as to why this happens. Is it because lack of awareness? Maybe for some people lack of interest, or is it an affordability issue? Because I know we have a wonderful BIA up at Albion Islington Square, and I know that sometimes the latter, the affordability, is a problem, even though there is that cost-sharing ability. However, having money left on the table is a concern. What can we do to help, in your opinion, to help promote these initiatives better? And just one more thing, you also indicated expansion of capital share programs, so I'll ask all my questions at the same time. Any idea of what, any examples of what other areas we could expand in?
I think the opportunity is out there. When we speak to money left on the table, we're talking about BIA's ready to go with a project, but unfortunately there may not be any left on the capital cost share side from the city because a major project has taken place. And again, don't get me wrong, we're trying to do this. The staff manages this program well. They have parameters that they check against. You know, they obviously give preference to where construction is taking place so that we can maximize those opportunities. And again, as I indicated earlier, what we're trying to do is make sure that those dollars are there for when they are needed. I think the best way really is for us to sit down and think this process through, whether it's cobbling out a number of dollars for the smaller BIAs, as was suggested, or any other opportunity. I think we just need to really drill into that a little bit from the advice of the needs of the BIAs or the perceived needs of the BIAs for this program and the ability for the city to deliver said dollars. So I think it's a discussion at this point that needs to be generated and to come up with the most robust program we can to assist the small business community out there who are looking to improve. We all know how Main Street goes, so goes the rest of the neighborhood. The net benefit to the city is beyond the assessment values of BIAs increasing more than non-BIA areas. We all know that the residential assessment immediately around vibrant BIAs is higher than areas that are depressed. It's all a formula that we can sort of work towards, and it's a win-win opportunity.
And just the final question, any examples of the capital cost share program? You indicated that it should be expanded?
I think there's always room for a few more dollars in there, especially if we're going to be charging 29% for administration and that sort of stuff. That's money that's taken up, dollars. If we eliminate that 30% off of there, maybe the amount of dollars is almost right, because we don't have to pay that side of the ledger. So again, I think it's a discussion.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Kelly to question?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to construction impacts on Main Street retail, is there any way you think that the city could change the way construction occurs?
There's been various attempts on part of various BIAs affected to coordinate with contractors or whatever body is overseeing, and in case Eglinton Avenue, I believe it's Metrolinx. The result has been varying degrees of cooperation or non-cooperation. I think that if the problem is going to be attacked in the direction that you're suggesting, and I think it would be a good idea to attack it in that direction, it would have to be a close coordination with the contractors doing the work before the work begins. That is, otherwise, at the contract negotiation stage. This is how you're going to do it to minimize interference with the businesses in this area. That said, there is still going to be disruption. I don't see how you can do a major project on a major street and not negatively affect the businesses that are going to be there. So the first step, I would agree wholeheartedly, is to, in the contract stage, try to develop a method of proceeding that minimizes the impact. And that is not what we're seeing at the current time. And then after the impact has been minimized, obviously the loss is a much smaller thing, hopefully a much smaller thing to deal with and to compensate for.
You mentioned in your remarks a construction tax, and I think you said that the ability of the city to levy it was contained in the City of Toronto Act. Is that correct?
I think that wasn't my comment, Councillor. That was John's comment, and I think what he was trying to address was maybe one way of compensating these businesses is to reduce the tax rate on them during the period of disruption. So instead, if they're paying whatever rate it is,
So it would just be a simple reduction.
that would be a simple reduction. I don't know whether that comes close to compensating the losses for some of these businesses. That's something that would have to be explored.
Okay, you've answered my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. I'd like to ask a question as it relates to the point that you made regarding the revenue loss as a result of construction activities. How would you determine, and what sort of formula evaluation would you use to apportion loss or cost contributed to the construction that's taken place? So when I think about sort of the sales, would you do it based on annualized sales of previous years, previous 5 years? Would you do an aggregate? How would you do that?
I think, Mr. Chair, you've sort of answered the question that you asked.
That's always a good thing.
Yes. The burden of proof has to be on the business that's claiming the loss.
Right.
So it is up to that business through documentation to demonstrate what its normal revenues have been over past years, and then to demonstrate what they are during the period of construction, and that would form the basis of the claim.
Now, I really don't know the answer to this question, so I won't answer it myself, but I do need you to answer.
I hope I know the answer.
Are there other jurisdictions where these types of process or cost application as it relates to revenue loss through construction, are there other jurisdictions that have a formula in place that you're aware of?
I don't know the answer to that, I'm sorry.
I don't think there is a formula in place. I do believe, though, that the city of Vancouver...
Is your mic on, John? Is your mic on?
So is it, Yep, it is. I do believe that the City of Vancouver, through their LINK project, ended up doing some compensation formula out there. I don't know if it's a standard formula that applies, but I know there's some jurisdictions that have actually provided some relief.
When we were doing St. Clair, we did a bit of Band-Aid things relating to TTC, timing and fare. I think there were some things done there. I don't remember the specific particulars and so on, but that was not sufficient because there were a demand at that time for compensation. But I don't really think we actually got to a point where anything sort of structurally of note was actually put in place.
You're right. I mean, and again, this is not intended to be regular good repair times when somebody needs to go in there and do that work. We're talking some of these major projects that are in the billions of dollars, and some consideration of the impact on those businesses to be reflected as a part of that cost. So the direct impact on the city would be, in our humble submission, negligible compared to the entire scheme and shared by other levels of government, the way many of these projects are.
Right, okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, members, those are the questions for our presenters. We would now like to take this matter to the staff in order to address questions that members have indicated that they have of staff. I'd like to start with visiting councillors first, and Councillor Davis will just go through that order with you beginning. And you have 5 minutes, please.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Williams, what is the Ontario-Toronto Burden Reduction Group? Is that another word for red tape?
He's not answering.
Waiting for my light to come on. It didn't come on. Yes.
Yes.
So it is focused
We-
on reducing paperwork and process red tape. It is not focused on reducing taxes.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear. All right. And it has a mandate? Is it?
There's a mandate. It's chaired by Minister Dogood and the mayor,
And
and there are staff support out of the city manager's office for it, and then out of line departments, and economic development and culture is involved in one of the initiatives that they have identified. There's extensive consultation. John Carew was one of about a dozen industry representatives at the table, at a round table that was held yesterday.
Right.
Okay. And it's intended to report out to?
It's intended to have, and yes, there will be a public report out and further, and it's supposed to happen very quickly. I think there's going to be a report out publicly in April on progress.
Okay. And at the city level, are we looking at, we're looking at everything from permit applications to like the small business related?
There's one of the initiatives is focused on trying to cut the red tape, for instance, on opening restaurants, because that's there are 10 to 20 different permit applications that have to be processed for every restaurant application. And so that's one of the initiatives that's being looked at after Mr. Lanus, who's the head of the Ontario Restaurant, Motel and Hotel Associations, in the audience, and he would know more details than I do.
We're not looking at watering down public health requirements, I presume.
No, we're trying to
Yes,
streamline.
okay.
There are different requirements by different orders of government that sometimes are in conflict or are doubling up, and they're trying to make that kind of thing. There's no issue here about making things less safe.
And I just wanted to ask on those other two questions I asked about before, have we looked at this issue of potential? I mean, I understand what the cost implications may be and so on, but have we looked at this question of compensating businesses somehow for their losses during major construction projects?
That has come up a number of times for a long time now. The issues of trying to figure out how to calculate compensation are extremely complex, burden of proof being one of them. The aspect of when you would do that and where you draw the line and estimating the costs could be very significant. I'll leave that for the committee to think about, but we have done a number of things in the past. So the chair raised the issue on what happened with St. Clair, and council did provide some monies to the local BIAs to help in their marketing. More recently, with in Leslieville, we provided some money to the local BIAs there during the new streetcar construction that occurred. Very modest amounts of money, not pretending that it compensates entirely or even majorly for the loss of business. But it is very, very hard to figure out how to do that, and the costs. And I think for those two reasons, there's never been a whole lot of support for trying to figure out how to do that.
Have we looked at on, maybe Ms. Carboni would know on the tax side at all, at those options that they've suggested?
So we have looked at the tax side. Now, my recollection of the legislation is that we actually, I don't think we actually have the authority to provide a lower tax rate during a construction period. I think it has to be the same rate. It's by class of property. I'd have to go back and refresh on that, but that's one of the challenges.
And I just finally, on the loan program, I'm quite familiar with one BIA that we've struggled with around the loan program for a number of reasons, but I'm wondering, are there other BIAs that have used the loan program, and what's your initial assessment on how effective it has been?
I think I'm going to ask Mr. Major to supplement what I'm about to say. There have been a number of BIAs that have taken advantage of it. It tends to be the very large BIAs with significant financial resources that can take on the liability of the loan, and John referred to that challenge for them. We had the loan program came out of what we did on Bloor Street, which was a one-off loan program, which resulted in a very remarkable transformation of one of our main streets. But Mike can address some of the other specifics.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we've had very, small take-up of the loan. I think perhaps 3 BIAs have taken advantage of it. Some of the reasons they don't take advantage of it, because if they opt for the loan program, the city's contribution gets reduced from 50% to 35%. And it's usually an option that's used where there's major road reconstruction happening, where the whole road is being redone, and those opportunities come up very rarely.
It would be good to look at that. Maybe you improve the cost sharing if it's a major construction program.
Thank you very much, Councillor Davis. Thank you. All right. Our nencst questioner is Councillor Wong Tam.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'll try to keep it brief. I'm going to focus just on the administrative costs or markup or pass-through, whatever we call it in the industry. It's all sorts of, it's captured under all sorts of names. Can you elaborate on the differential percentage between what we see in the market rate? And usually I see 10 to 15% as markup, sometimes 20, but rarely do I see 29.5, 30%. Where does that quantum come from, and how is that justified?
I can't answer that question. Those costs are levied by either engineering construction services or by transportation, and you'd need to address them about those costs.
So the administrative cost is being passed through directly from suppliers, is that correct?
No, the costs are
Contractors?
Added to the contractor's fees for the services and oversight role that either engineering and construction services plays or transportation.
So so would that qualify as a holdback in case the project runs over?
No, that's holdback
something
is a different issue.
That's right. So this cost, the BIA administrative costs, as outlined by the presenters, is a cost that's directly passed through by the contractors or whoever our consultants are on the project.
No, these are costs that are levied by other city divisions
Other city divisions.
who take a responsibility for oversight of the construction and in many cases, the design work, et cetera. So these are internal city costs that are added to the construction costs for the services provided by the various city divisions.
Has there ever been a review to understand further why that request is in, from whether it's tech services or if it's engineering, transportation services? Or do we just automatically pay it and collect it through the BIAs?
We automatically pay it. The fees to pay it come from both the BIA, it's cost shared.
Yeah.
So the city also incurs 50% of those costs or higher, depending upon the situation.
So just to understand, so if the percentage of this roundup is 30% for administrative costs, the cost share component is 50% to the BIA, 15% to economic development, City of Toronto, that we have to pay tech services, transportation services, whoever's charging, whoever's marking up the administrative cost.
Correct. In those situations. Sometimes it's not as high as that, but more lately it has been.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add, Councillor, it's not unique to the BIA. It's done right across the board. Even with councillors, we pay administrative costs as well on a number of things that we do, printing and a variety of things. It can be quite high at times, so it's not unique to the BIAs. But I understand your point in terms of maybe it's time to review that process.
Yeah, I think because we rarely use any of the city services in that way, so we don't see the administrative costs through those services. My office anyway.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, moving right along, I will have Councillor Carroll next, and then Councillor Frакadakis.
Yeah, I have some questions on the Burn Group, but first, maybe if we could just go over how our capital program works anywhere. Because I think part of the problem here is when people hear the word administrative costs, they picture a person at a desk, just, photocopying some paper. In fact, any capital project we do, by the time you've done procurement, design spec, and isn't the part of the problem here is that over the last few years, BIAs have become more energetic, especially since the Bloor Street revitalization. So they're doing things that involve all the way to procurement, which must be done as a public procurement, and tech services is involved because we're actually now talking about infrastructure. We're grateful to BIAs, but they're getting into infrastructure now, are they not? We're doing sidewalk reconstruction, revitalizations of whole rights of way. Is that why they're seeing these 29.5, which is in fact the ratio anyway, in our own capital work?
Tech services or transportation are better equipped to answer these questions, so I first of all couch that. Second of all, I agree with you that there are significant services supplied to manage the contract, starting with procurement, starting with site supervision, including design, including all of that kind of element to running a project. As to how the specific amount is calculated, I have no insight into that, I'm sorry.
Right, so why we're seeing, for instance, in our deputy's presentation, we see sometimes the percentage is lower, because if you're doing Christmas lights, we don't have a standard for that and a whole bunch of administrative burdensome need. If you're helping us to put granite on the sidewalks in front of your stores, we have very specific infrastructure specs, and we've got to meet them, and we've got to use public procurement. Am I right in my read of the situation? Is that where the variance is?
There's that, and there's also, we do have some technical people in our BIA office that also provide design services and procurement services. So it's the mixing of what we provide, which comes automatically, if you will, as part of the cost of the BIA office, and operating from capital, the ratio that comes out of that.
Right, I don't want to run out of time. And the reason we provide that procurement service is if you're going to use any share of our money, it has to be a public procurement. We have to meet public procurement rules. Is that not the problem?
Exactly.
Well, not
it's
the
not,
problem,
it's the
that's the
situation.
reality.
It's the situation, yes.
Right, okay, so there are things we can fix here, and perhaps the burden group can help with it, but we're not going to reduce enough burden that we're actually contravening MFP inquiry rules.
No.
Right, okay, so I'm less concerned about them. Now, With regards to the education tax, my questions, I don't need to ask a lot of questions to speed this along, except to get you to say on the record through questioning, would it be helpful for economic development to have an update, a history and a current status on the Ontario Education Reduction Program? I gather the current status is it's not happening. If we got an update, do you have enough data that you could expand upon their point about the regional inequities and what has happened from 2007 to now, and we could then decide how to tailor our own advocacy programs?
Certainly.
Okay,
And it should
thank you.
involve corporate finance.
Thank you, so I'll move that motion.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Frакadakis, just a question?
I have a couple of questions, and it's about the slide, it's on this slide deck. There's it looks, they're not numbered, but it seems to be page 9, where it talks about that there's a lack of input from economic development to other departmental reports, and I'm just wondering if the general manager could speak to the comment that is in this deck saying the need for a senior staff member dedicated to advancing BIA-related interests to track city and provincial decisions that will have cause and effect on the interests of local BIAs and businesses. And I'm just wondering, do we not actually have somebody that does that?
Yes, the manager of the BIA office, Mike Majors, sits on the Capital Coordination Committee that's managed by Cluster B that takes a look at major projects. There is always an opportunity to have more insight as to the planning going on within the city or the province that impacts BIAs, but we do have some resources already committed to this.
Okay, great. And then there's also mentions in the slide deck about training for BIA boards and staff, and I'm wondering if you have any information about any training that's out there for BIA board members and their staff.
So we do, city staff do some BIA training. It's pretty basic on governance and best practices for such an organization. There are conversations going on with the community colleges to have them create a course. Now that we're at 82 BIAs and growing, we have a significant number of members of boards that come and go on those boards, where an education for many people who are not used to sitting on not-for-profit or for-profit boards, for that matter, could benefit from the guidance that would come from a standard curriculum that's developed by a reputed educational institution.
How far away is that from being offered to members of the public through a community college?
Mike Major might be able to give you more insight on that.
For you, Mr. Chair, we've had some preliminary discussions with George Brown and Ryerson, and we actually have a meeting with the Downtown Young BIA in Ryerson to consider such a program. I'd say it's in its early stages, but if there's buy-in from all parties, it could be implemented relatively quickly.
Like in the next school term?
I'd say 2017.
Oh, okay. Great, thanks. That's all my questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Frакadakis. All right, members, there are no further questioners. I'd now like to invite members to speak. Visiting councillors, do you wish to speak? Councillor Davis? No. Councillor Frank? No. Okay. All right, members, we are going to take this into committee, and the first speaker I have is Councillor Frакadakis, and then Councillor Carroll. You have 5 minutes, Councillor.
Yeah, and I won't take it. I have a motion, but there might be a typo, but I don't think there is. That the General Manager, Economic Development and Culture, in consultation with Tabia and Toronto's 81 BIAs, though I heard 82 from the General Manager, so I'm not sure.
It's coming, 82.
Okay, so it's 81 at the moment. Review the capital cost share financial targets to maximize the amount of funding that can be leveraged from the BIAs for streetscape improvements, and report back to this committee by the second quarter of next year. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And in the interest of time, since it's almost 11 o'clock and we're on item number 1, I won't say much more than that, but ask that you support this.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? No, seeing none. Okay, Councillor Carroll to speak.
Yes, I think that is a very helpful motion. I think we need to have a deeper understanding. The motion I'm moving is about the education tax reduction program. I've left it very general. I really think that what we've heard is that we need to tailor our own advocacy on this issue better, but I think we need the report first, and I know that that can be put together fairly quickly. And so I think it should be brought here because, for one thing, having a report and having it on the agenda highlights it right off the bat. That will be our opening salvo that this is an issue, and then we take it from there. I think that it has to be addressed as soon as possible because, in fact, what I understand, it's helpful to have your DCM be someone who was treasurer for so long, because I understand from Ms. Carboni that part of the problem is that when they began the phasing down of the education tax burden in Toronto, they'd made a promise in the rest of the GTA that they wouldn't raise it anywhere else. So they actually exacerbated the inequity that they had. And Halton Region, now one of the richest, your chart indicates to us information I didn't know in today's context, $3,500 below what we're taxing $1 million assessed property here in Toronto. So we need to address that right away. But I think the report will spell it out not only for us, but for the 44 councillors. The only other thing that I wanted to remark on is that in terms of talking to the BIAs, we're always grateful for the capital work they do. So Councillor Fragedakis is saying, let's make sure that we all understand the reality of how capital budgets are structured. If you're doing something as big as technical services, for instance, we can't say, hey, can you just float this cost, because this is a cost recovery department. We incorporate the cost of it in a budget. So if you're doing a big thing, and those are rare amongst BIAs, there are only a few that can, but if you're doing a big thing, you got to know that going in. So we need to have that discussion, and if a change needs to be made because this is the model we want to work with our businesses, then that's going to be a big change that we have to work through the financial arm. But in terms of consulting with BIAs, I think I can speak for every councillor when I say we would much rather, always, every time, if we're doing something or advocating for something for businesses, we would always much rather speak to Tabia and BIAs than the CFIB. If I walk into a business that's in a BIA, I can say to them, do you know what CFIB is saying on behalf of your business? And they'll say, what's the CFIB? If I say, do you know what your BIA is saying on behalf of you? They say, of course. So that's who I will consult every time through Mr. Major and economic development staff. But if there's a feeling that we're not doing that enough, then I know that the Chair of Economic Development heard that loud and clear, and will make sure that that happens on our behalf. Those are my comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Kelly to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to preface my remarks by thanking John and Lionel for making, I think, a very effective presentation this morning. I particularly appreciated the format, lots of photos, not a lot of print, and the print that was there was in bold caps. And I'm not being facetious. I often think that we're overburdened with information that is presented to council by people who appear before us on behalf of various groups. There were two issues that they raised that with which I wholeheartedly agree, and one was taxation. I felt, though, that your focus was too tight. I frankly believe that there has to be a restructuring of the fundamentals of our tax system. If we're going to position Toronto for this fierce international urban competition that's going to characterize the 21st century, I think we've got to get the fundamentals straightened out as quickly as possible. And the issues that you've raised is just a part of that restructuring. The second is your desire to have an economic lens be applied to the decision-making process in the City of Toronto. The sense I have is that the social lens, the social perspective tends to trump the economic one. While social issues are important, I would argue that what you're doing with the emphasis on the social lens is to divvy up the pie. The economic lens, I think, grows the pie. And if I had to make a choice, I would like to make sure that we're not ignoring the growing the pie lens. And so I hope that we've listened very carefully to that advice and that in one way or another, we'll follow it. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. Okay, Councillor Crisanti to speak.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to take a moment just to add my support to the great work that Mr. Carew and his team and our staff at Economic Development is doing with respect to our BIAs across the city. I know that we're quite proud of the BIA we have up at North Etobicoke, Albion Islington BIA. They're doing a wonderful job in doing everything to improve the streetscape and other examples that over the last few years. And it's not by chance that we're up to now, I believe, 82 BIAs across the city of Toronto. That doesn't happen without a lot of hard work and passion and interest. And from what I understand, the City of Toronto was the very first city to introduce the concept of a BIA many, many moons ago, I think somewhere in the early 70s. And so it's just phenomenal. I think there's a lot to be proud of. And we should be, the City of Toronto and our staff and Mr. Carew should be applauded for that great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, I have a couple of motions. Actually, I have motions here that I'd like to move, which basically speaks to asking the general manager to look at the capital cost effectiveness of that, the cooperation, and to look at what could be done with respect to that. I also am asking the general manager in motion number 2 to take a look at the opportunities to see whether our compensation can be done for businesses in terms of addressing the issue around economic losses and so on. I've asked a question of both Mr. Carew and Miskin, and it tells me that they're not aware of it being done elsewhere, and so, but I think it's important for us to take a look. And then I'm asking that the presentation that's been presented by Mr. Miskin and Mr. Carew be presented to staff. I mean, they've got it, but for them to review. Certainly, first, I want to thank John Carew, Lina Miskin for the work that they've done, obviously, over the years and continue to do on behalf of Tabia and in Mr. Miskin's case, the Kennedy Road BIA, which is in my ward. Mr. Carew, the work that you do overall. I too join the Deputy Mayor Crisanti in his comment about thanking the staff for the great work they do, whether or not it's Mr. Major, Mr. Byers, and the whole team. I don't know all the guys and girls who are part of the Economic Development BIA office. I have met most of them, but I don't know all their names, but I want to thank them all very much for the work they do. If we look at how the process and BIAs have developed over the years, we see that they are great contributors to the job development, economic development, business, and also the very essence of the communities in our main streets. Cities aren't actually taking care of main streets. BIAs are taking care of main streets, along certainly with the cities and the input that the cities provide with respect to whether or not that's the capital costs or the facade improvement program that we've had in place and so on. And we know that right now, varying places around the world are, in fact, recognizing a good thing that exists here in Toronto, which is a BIA, amongst the other wonderful things that exist in this city that's being recognized around the world. But I know we had varying places as part of the CARE-led program that I'm responsible for FCM. That's all in the Caribbean. Many of those areas there are now starting to adopt the principles of BIA. Belize, for example, is one. Belize City has implemented BIAs and it's actually working really well. We had the Minister of Local Government here not too long ago from Jamaica. They're looking at implementing it there, whether or not it's Sablamar, Westmoreland, and varying places. We have also some other cities. Just last week, I was in Ottawa with the Carol-Ed folks, met with varying high commissioners and so on, looking at, as part of what they're doing in varying cities around the world, implementing this very, a Canadian homegrown success concept that we see that has been developed. And certainly it's something that works really, really well. And so it's a collaborative process. We are always trying to refine it to make it better. This is what this is all about. We have our annual state of the BIA that Mr. Crew and Miskin and others will come and present to us. This is that. The staff are prepared to continue to work with you to dialogue and to share information and to see how we could actually bring forward some of the key points that you've isolated and identify in your presentation and so on. We want to simply thank you for the great work that you do on an ongoing basis. Members, I know we'll deal with these motions, but I'm hoping that all of this will come back as part of a package from the general manager in, let's say, the second quarter of next year. Give them enough time. I don't know if that's satisfactory for everybody, but I'm just suggesting that there might be some things that may need more work and other things that may need less work and so on. So those are my suggestions. I'll be pleased to take questions on my motion. So, okay, so well, let me do this first. I will start with Councillor Carroll first, and then I'll start with Councillor, and then I'll get to Councillor Vagadakis. Councillor Carroll, please go ahead.
Yeah, your second motion about compensation, I'm concerned that the way it's worded, it indicates that the compensation would be purely financial, and I don't know that that's always going to be the case. Were you envisioning a report, since you're talking about it not coming till the second quarter, that would be a report that's a fairly full report, looks at what happens in other cities, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
Because if it's a report of that magnitude, then I can support the motion. I think it's important that we understand it's not just once in a while we build a brand new transit line. There's a track reconstruction somewhere in downtown Toronto every year.
Yeah.
And if people think that we can somehow compensate for that, then we just won't do the track reconstructions.
Yeah.
And I think we have to remember that it's not the people whizzing past your business that are giving you money, it's the people who are walking down the sidewalk and coming in the door. So if it's a full report and it really looks at some comparators, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in that respect, I'm willing to support.
So, Councillor.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my intent.
I
and
see
abbreviated-
noddings of heads from staff,
Abbreviated
so I
that
think they get
in
that.
terms of the questioning that I asked as well about
Yeah.
other jurisdictions, so I want to give them time to be able to assess that and to make that determination.
Okay.
They may come back and say, we can't
I just don't want people
do
leaving
it.
with an unrealistic
Yeah, no, and thank you for
expectation.
asking for the
Okay.
clarification on that. Good, thank you. Councillor Frакadakis?
Mine's a clarification of motion number one. And
Sure.
it just seems almost identical to the motion that I've moved. So I'm just wondering, what other capital projects were you envisioning other than streetscape improvements?
So I'm looking at facade improvements as well. We have that program as well. It hasn't really changed over the years, and I don't know if there was any additional programs that could be brought into place in terms of consideration. So I'm looking at more than just the capital cost-sharing program.
Oh, okay. So that's fine. That's all I
Okay.
wanted to know.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grisanti.
Yes, just one question. Good motions, and I'm happy to support it. There's no timing. When do you expect that this will come back for
Sure.
further discussion? Or can you put a time?
Yeah, I can add the time into it, but I was just commenting that I think it would be best to give staff enough time, so I'm saying second quarter of 2016.
Fair enough.
That would give them enough time to, so I would suspect, I'm thinking mindset, I'm not going to give them a specific month in the second quarter, but within that second
Within that
quarter.
period.
Bring it all back so
That's
we'll
fair
have
enough.
further discussion on this.
That's good. Thank you.
The general manager is shaking his head and so on, so, okay. All right. Seeing that, then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you if you are okay, amenable to just simply taking it as a package. I think we're all okay with all the motions. And just in the interest of time, Madam Clerk, are we okay? And then we'll just basically clause them as, yeah, okay. So we're taking them as a package, firstly. I don't know if you need to read them again, or everybody's okay. So all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And item as amended, all those in favor? That's opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, members, we are going to kind of speed along. We have now item 8.2, Toronto's Youth Action Plan update.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, just a quick item, because I'm recollecting, was it the beginning of last term, Councillor Matlow was a member of this committee, so that may be why, but at the time we announced the birth of it, this is we're beginning of the first term for like a nanosecond. And
Oh,
then,
yes, okay,
And then but we did announce he was expecting a baby and then announced the birth of the baby. We have another new council baby who's been born this morning.
Ah,
Baby
congratulations.
Sienna Layton arrived this morning.
Congratulations to Councillor Hayden. Well done. Thank you, Councillor Carroll. All right, members, moving right along, ED 8.2. We have a speaker, Mr. McGuire. We have a correspondence from him, but we've got his name.
He had to leave.
Okay, Mr. McGuire is not here. He did provide us with a correspondence. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it. Are there any questions with respect to this particular item from anyone? Okay. Members, seeing none? All those in favor? Opposed?
Sorry, is this item two?
Pardon? That's item two. Item two.
motion, right?
Yeah, so I have sorry. There is a motion that I do have for item two, though. Sorry, and really, it's a communication motion, and ask staff to put it on the screen. I'm simply asking that this matter, that we develop a communication plan that will increase the awareness of and showcase the impact of the success of the workforce development to youth employment strategy and so on. I also draw your attention to this communication that I've asked to be sent out to you. It's Toronto ranked best economy for young people in new study. The report looks at 35 cities from around the world and ranked them based on youth, job programs, business opportunity, and so on. I think it's appropriate for you to also read that, and that I've asked for that to be circulated around. And so I don't know if there's any question on this particular motion that I've moved, but it's simply I want staff to develop a communication plan. Oftentimes I'm asked about programs that the city is actually doing. People may not be aware of them and so on, and we're looking at increasing the awareness so people can actually obviously respond, know about them, and to obviously continue to help the young people who are quite challenged with respect to creating opportunities. Although we've been ranked quite high, I don't think 77 out of 100 is a great mark, but it is the best mark of all the 35 cities from around the world that has been. My mother would not be happy with the 77%. So, so I just wanted to add that, right? So if we're okay with that, I will just simply move that motion and then ask all those in favor. Oh, do you have a question?
I do have one
Okay.
question, Steph. Sorry, I do have one question. We talked about this morning, but I want to ask it publicly because I think the problem is this doesn't get down to the ground. I just want to make sure. I read through the whole report hunting for the words and I didn't see them, and that may be political correctness, I don't know. But often when people talk about hard to employ, it's not 100% clear that that means hard to employ sometimes means special needs as well. And we integrate developmentally challenged and differently abled, and so we're not sending them off into a different social stream about abilities. They are actually integrated into our youth employment strategies.
The workforce development yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct. Through the chair, that is correct.
Pam, Pat, do you want to just comment on that?
Yes, I can comment on that. Although there is programming that is specific, in our case, our programming is integrated with our other programming. So we have an integrated model.
So if a person was approaching our youth employment services who was differently able, they wouldn't be told, oh, there's a special program for you, go over there. They would actually just be greeted the same way as any other youth who's saying, I'm finding it hard to get employment.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We tailor every
Thank you.
situation, but we will be in the mainstream of the program.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. So the motion, all those in favor? Oppose? That carries. Okay. And basically, this is an item that was here for information. So we, receive for information, so, okay. So we are, I'm moving a motion, asking for a motion for support for the item as amended. Item number 2, all those in favor with my motion? All in favor, thank you. All right. All right, members, we're moving right along because we want to respond to the time constraint. We are now moving to ED 8.3, the Deputy Mayor's Economic Development Advisory Body. 8.3, we have speakers. We have Pauline Christensen, President of the Black Business and Professional Association. We also have Dr. Catherine Chandler Critchlow, Chair, Black Business and Professional Council Advisory, are here. I believe they're here. Would you please come forward? Sorry? Yeah. Good morning. Are you ready? Thank you. You may begin, please. Thanks. Shelley.
Chairman of the committee, Councillor Thompson, and councillors of the Economic Development Committee, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today. I am here in the capacity of the chair of the Black Business Professionals Council Advisory Body that was established by the City of Toronto. It was comprised of representatives from the Black community who are entrepreneurs or professionals, and these are representatives from across the GTA. This group was convened back in 2014 by the then Deputy Mayor, Norm Kelly, and also with the participation of the chair of the Economic Development Council Committee, Councillor Thompson. The impetus in terms of bringing together this body was basically to address the issues of how do we continue to strengthen and grow our companies in the region, with a specific emphasis on the Black community, and to not only look at issues that could be, or strategies that could be used to strengthen our companies, but also to address the issues or any concerns that the community might have in terms of tapping into business opportunities and business development and growth within the city and in the region. We had tremendous support, I will tell you in this, and I know we're going to get the same thing from Pauline, but in this committee, we had tremendous support from the staff of the city throughout this process. I would be remiss if I did not mention some of these people by name, because the General Manager Economic Development, Mike Williams, set the context for the coordination and collaboration and discussions that would take place over close to 9 months. On the ground, we had people like Chris Rickett and Nina Gassi of the Economic Development Group, who played an amazing role in moving forward the agenda. And I can tell you this was the first type of committee of this sort that was established, and bringing together professionals who had very different areas of specialization, sizes of companies, and so on. But in essence, kept this group together in terms of how could we identify specific strategies to improve the growth and development of our companies, as well as to address challenges faced by the community. I would suggest that the three main outcomes from this body provide the start of an engagement between the Black business community and the city. The first I'd like to refer to is the ongoing consultations and roundtables that were held between the city and members of the Black community. From December 2014 to the summer of 2015, there were a number of ongoing consultations, and I would say in large part these consultations were more like very engaged focus groups. in which members of the community were able to articulate what they see as great growth opportunities, but also what they see as barriers and challenges in expanding their businesses and also working more effectively with the City of Toronto. So those roundtable discussions laid the foundation for ongoing dialogue between the community and the City of Toronto, and they were compelling discussions. I can tell you, sitting into some discussions, we had issues that were raised across the board that lent for ongoing debate and dialogue and laid the foundation for what we consider to be phase 2. And in phase 2, it was really a need, we all realized there was a need to do a bit more characterization of what do we mean by the Black business community and the professional groups. And the discussions we held at the roundtables led in large part to the definition and implementation of the first ever characterization of Black business in the region. From the discussions we held, we were able to identify the top issues that we needed to get feedback on from our community, and those issues formed the basis of the development of a survey, a questionnaire survey, that was developed, again, in consultation by the city staff and members of the community. That survey was the first to go out to our community and resulted in 242 responses. 242 might not seem like a big number, but given that we implemented this in close to a month, in terms of getting out to the community, we found it was a significant start. And in that survey, there were a number of areas that were identified by the community where there is a need for ongoing discussion and where there's an opportunity to continue to address how we might grow and make our businesses competitive. One of those areas was youth entrepreneurship. And in our consultations with the city, we were really thrilled that at all points, there were efforts made for us not only to understand what was being done by economic development, we were able to understand what was being done by the Employment and Social Services Group and things that feed into economic development and feed into the companies that we are working with. So this was a holistic approach. This was a connecting of the dots of what the city offers in such a manner that it presents the community with a comprehensive rather than an ad hoc sort of disaggregated view of what the city has to offer. And this was a significant benefit for this consultation. People are walking away from this process knowing not only what one group provides, but what the city provides and what it can do for workforce development, just as what it can do for economic development. A second outcome, one of the things that the community expressed very clearly was that while the city has a great number of services provided for entrepreneurs and professionals, the communication of that message is sometimes a bit vague and sometimes a bit opaque. We didn't have a sense of what those programs were. So there was a strong recommendation coming from the group that there needs to be an even more precise and definitive marketing program that communicates to businesses, not only within our community, I think other communities would benefit as well, but exactly what sort of programs are available. And coming out of that, what we found was that there were a number of services that the community felt it needed, which were already provided by the city and which we could tap into almost immediately. A third outcome of the research was that there is a need for a recognition that this survey that was done across the community is a start. The organizations that responded came about largely from the 7 groups within our community, 7 associations that in large part were responsible for administering the survey. And those associations were predominantly Caribbean-based organizations. We realized that going forward, this needs to be expanded to all of the other Black community business in our area, the African diaspora, and others. And a third outcome of this consultation has been the opening up of the opportunities for professional development and ongoing learning from the community. Very quickly, the Economic Development Group partnered with members of the community to offer programs such as gaining a better understanding of the procurement process, the government business procurement process, to understand how that worked on the ground, what sort of information is needed, which again the community had a vague idea of, but not the specifics. So we are seeing that the education and training component is one that is significant and which has been started, and I'm sure that Pauline is going to give a bit more on that. In the interest of time, I would say that the greatest benefit of this process has been the connecting of the dots in terms of what the city offers and providing a cohesive approach to informing any community, specifically the Black community, on what the opportunities are for growth and how barriers could be addressed. We think this is the start of a journey. We thoroughly appreciate the engagement that has been provided by city staff. We do not believe we would have been able to make the progress we have made in short time if we have not had that. But we look forward to ongoing dialogue. We look forward to ongoing opportunities to understanding how we continue to make the Black community, the Black professionals in this area, continue to support the economic growth and development of the Toronto region. And on behalf of the group that worked on this, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Great reporting, Dr. Krishlow. Dear Chair of the Economic Development Committee and members of Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today as it relates to the report out of the Black Business Professional Council Advisory Body, initiated by Deputy Mayor in collaboration with Councillor Thompson and the city's Economic Development Office. Over the last year or so, it has been encouraging to experience the support from the City of Toronto for the Black business community, especially since the Black community is a significant ethnocultural group in the Toronto cultural mosaic. Over 200,000 Blacks live in Toronto, many of whom are significant contributors to the city and, by extension, Ontario and Canada's economy and cultural vibrancy. I am Pauline Christian, the president of the Black Business and Professional Association, Canada's largest Black business and professional charitable organization that facilitates the advancement of the Black business and professional community, showcasing 3 major flagships and its recent launch of the BBPA Center of Excellence in Business Incubator, located in the financial hub of 180 Elm Street off University Avenue. This was a collaborative effort between BBPA, the City of Toronto via the Toronto Community Housing, and the Province of Ontario via the Ontario Trillium Foundation. The BBPA supports programs and initiatives that support economic development and entrepreneurship in the Black community and is known for its flagship programs and yearly conferences via the National Black Business and Professional Convention. The BBPA is known for its huge contribution to higher education with its flagship scholarship program, the National Scholarship Fund, that offers over $200,000 a year to Black students. And our Heritage Room Awards is known to be one of the highest forms of recognitions in the Black community, where Canada's best in the Black community is celebrated annually. As for me, I wear many hats in our community. As a business owner in the residential healthcare retirement industry, I am grateful for the opportunity being offered to me and my family in experiencing a growing family business in the most beautiful and multicultural country in the world. Albeit I have been the recipient of good mentorship and opportunities, including some challenges, however, we have realized growth. On the other hand, I am cognizant of the fact that many Black businesses have experienced unbearable challenges. As per our most survey, an action item that came out of the BBP CAB, our Black business owners need a stimulus package or effort, and the city is strategically poised to lead the Western world on this front as it relates to reviving the Black economy and creating a sustainable framework whereby Black businesses and families can grow and prosper. Today, many view the Black economy in a state of dire straits and need to be rescued from the Black socioeconomic plight, if you will. Being a Black entrepreneur for over 10 years and leading a Black Business Charitable Association affords me critical intelligence and hands-on experience to somehow understand the plight of the Black entrepreneur. When we take stock of the journey of the Black entrepreneur, the myriad of contours, hills, valleys, pitfalls, and roadblocks that intersect their journey to socioeconomic advancement. Bearing this in mind, I had the pleasant surprise when I received a call in 2014 from Councillor Michael Thompson regarding the Deputy Mayor's initiative to put an advisory in place, creating an opportunity for dialogue by bringing key leaders in the Black business community to address issues preventing the growth and prosperity of the community, as well as better understanding the needs of the Black business community. In collecting this type of intelligence on the Black businesses, the city would be more informed and be able to plan appropriately for our businesses and now factor the Black businesses in their strategic priorities, allowing Black businesses to prosper and grow. Indeed, the city has acted on their promise by the response to this great opportunity. I beseech the city's economic department to seriously take note of the recommendations coming out of the BBPCAB, Black Business and Professional Council Advisory Body. The Black business has made a great accomplishment. In addressing some of these recommendations, please be mindful of the disparity between the needs of the different ethnic groups of the Toronto Black business community, as well as sectors within the overall community. And you can look at pages 12 and 13 respectively, based on the report that you have in your hand. For example, some of the initiatives already implemented by the city to meet the needs of our overall young entrepreneur sector might be able to assist this focus group with a bit of more intentionality. Leveraging and cross-pollination will be effective measures and approaches we may want to consider to ensure inclusion of certain ethnic groups. In this, the program can be supported and at the same time lessen the cost on the city. Let's take seriously the ideas and areas identified by the survey. And some of those areas we want to look at is the areas that we're focusing on business in terms of where most of the businesses are, in the creative arts, in professionalism, and that kind of stuff. And we need to do a deeper dive in those areas. As it relates to the BUPA, to close off, the city is working with us to conduct some of these workshops and has been well received by our community. Working alongside Mr. Michael Williams, Mr. Chris Rickett, Ms. Nina Gessa, and our chair of BCAB, Dr. Chandler Critchlow, and community leaders and partners, namely Blacks in Canada, First Friday, By Blacks, the Jamaica Canadian Association, and Tropicana. It has been a groundbreaking collaborative experience, shifting the paradigm in the right direction. If possible, it would be great to keep the communication path open and keeping the dialogues going forward between the city and the Black community. It is evident that the growth of the Black business community is vital to the economic growth of our city, as well as, the city, as when one succeeds, we all succeed. Thanks to Toronto City Council for taking the right step to include and improve the Black community. Looking forward to a continued working relationship with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, members, questions? Okay. Visiting members and questions? Seeing none? Okay. So I have just a couple of questions for you. I know you talked a little bit about continuing this and the relationship and so on. So the next step as part of this report, where do you see us going next as it relates to the experience that you've had so far working with the city, and you've talked about that, and I'm very happy to hear that, but being more tangible so that this actually does this, and by the way, this is an excellent report, but this becomes a reality so that the city knows what the community is doing, how many businesses that there are owned by Blacks in the city of Toronto. I mean, I remember when I first asked the question, no one knew. And so this is very helpful. So the thing is, next step, where do we go with this report?
I think that there's a real opportunity to expand, first of all, to expand the survey, the reach of the survey to other segments of the Black community, so that this is not just the view of the Black Caribbean entrepreneurs and professionals. I think that's one direction that we can go in immediately. That is not something that would be difficult to activate, but we just didn't have the time to do it when we did the first survey, so that'll be something we can implement. And the second outcome of the report that I think is pivotal is the emphasis on youth entrepreneurship. Pauline has referred also to the committee that has been established and what she's doing at the Center of Excellence, but that is something that could be picked up on again immediately in terms of next steps and how do we expand programs like that in terms of the ongoing education, training, and support for young entrepreneurs. So those are the two big ones we see going forward.
Sure.
And one quick, I just want to emphasize the fact that after the whole communication with you and getting us involved, that the city really jumped on, and I must take my hat off to Mr. Chris Rickett. Like, he kept us included in almost all communications and involvement, and using the Center of Excellence, because the Center of Excellence is the first of its kind for Black entrepreneurs, where we have our own place to have these kind of workshops and training.
What can we do as a city to work with you and the leadership to reach out to the young Black entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs in this city? When I look at page 7 and you talk about the different sectors, I see, for example, in the construction, I see 0. I see finance and insurance, I see 0. I see real estate and renting and leasing, I see 0, and so on. So there, you've identified certain areas where there's a lot of work to be done. And the question is, collaboratively, what could be done in terms of going forward with the city and working with your group to ensure more young Black entrepreneurs are brought into the mix?
I think that is one of the ideas that came out with the Economic Development Office, in that this is just a start of something great. By doing the survey, we have to get deeper into the statistics to find out what needs to be done. Right? And so these areas that we see the zeros on is not really a reflection of the true community, because as Dr. Crutchlow said, we had like 3 weeks to do the survey. So this is not a reflection of all the businesses in the community because of the shortness of
That's helpful. I'm glad you said that because I just didn't believe that.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's the reason why I asked the question. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, thank you. Just a question of staff, if there are no other questions by members of the committee. So I see, Chris, you're here. Help me to understand in terms of the next step for this particular process. It's a good report, and we've heard from the presenters that they've had a limited amount of time. Certainly the number of people who applied within a short period of time were, I would say, a large number. Help me to understand, where do we go with this report, and how do we continue to work with the Toronto Black community to help them in order to develop more business and more to ensure more entrepreneurs will come forward, so that we change that social narrative that's out there versus the guns. It's about business and other opportunities.
Yeah, so there's a number of action items around doing better outreach to the Black business community around the programs that are available to young entrepreneurs. And again, we'll be leveraging our partners that were all part of this process to continue to get the word out there around the programs and services that are available. We're also doing some tweaking of programs. So in January, working with Toronto Employment and Social Services, we'll be launching Starter Space at Crossways, which will be a youth-focused incubator focused on Ontario Works clients, as well as a specific focus on young people from neighborhood improvement areas. So we're looking at really adapting some of our existing programs to deliver it to not only Black youth, but of course youth in the neighborhood improvement areas. So our real commitment, and then things around, one of the big things that came out of the discussions with the group was around procurement with the city. And of course, SDFA has been working on the social procurement policy, which will launch in 2016, and really highlights that through the procurement process, engaging visible minorities and women in the procurement process, which I think will be a big boon for a lot of the members that were around the table in the Black Business Professionals and Advisory Committee. So all of these things we're going to continue moving on and continue to engage the group so that they know that these things are moving forward, and of course call them together when we need them to check on how we're doing, how we can improve, or if there's specific programs programs we'd like their input into. And I think as part of the report, we also identified that let's revisit the survey process, but let's wait a few years and build up some more community connections and look at how we can grow that that response rate over time.
You
But
have a
right now,
database as
let's
well?
yes. But right now, let's really focus on some action items and concrete results, because I think that's what everybody wants to see.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, to speak? Councilor Kerry, you had a question?
No, I'm sorry. I just had an agenda suggestion.
Okay, well, just let me finish this particular item first. Okay to speak? Okay. Councilor Kelly to speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for appearing before us this morning. Your report was what I had anticipated when the Deputy Mayor roundtables were created. You took that initiative and you formed a group, you met, you deliberated, and you came back to us with a fascinating analysis and important requests of the government of the City of Toronto. I noticed that in the profile information that you provided, that the companies or the profile of the Black business community indicated self-employed companies, relatively new, female-led, and what struck me was that this is the way the economy is going. And so it would appear that you're moving with the times, and that you need assistance in taking advantage of the opportunities that are emerging in the economy as it's changing. The requests that you've made of us are all, I think, pertinent, very relevant. The most important of which is probably, the two of which is probably the most, are the most important are, can you help us find financing? I was at a dinner meeting last night along with Councillor Thompson, and that was, I think, one of the important requests that were brought to our attention. And to some way, in one way or the other, leverage the procurement policy of the city, amend it in a way that facilitates the growth of small businesses, in particular, in your instance, the Black community. But that's a request we've heard from the high-tech people. Find a way of encouraging the dynamism that's out there in the high-tech community, and what you're saying, the dynamism that's emerging in the Black community. And I hope that our staff will take that request seriously. Finally, I was really pleased to see in your report examples of successes. And I think that the marketing of those successes should be encouraged, to let the young people in the Black community, frankly, the successes that young people are enjoying in these changing times. I think that there has to be more optimism in the community. I noticed in the report or the information that the chair provided to us, Toronto ranked best economy for young people in new study, that while we did very well in creating opportunities for youth, that Toronto's youth, or Toronto seems to be, and I'm assuming it's the youth, maybe it's just the business community in general, that we are ranked among the least optimistic communities in terms of our expectations our economic prospects were amongst the lowest in the world. So here we have the best score, and yet on the optimism scale, we're very low. And so I think it's very important to do, as you did here, to give examples, illustrations of people who have been successful. It can happen. It happened to them, and it can happen to you. So thank you very much for this report, and I'm looking forward to the response by staff to it in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. I'm going to move the recommendations are here, move the item. I'm going to thank the presenters, Dr. Critchlow and Ms. Christensen, for both your leadership, both in terms of with the city and with the community at large. It seems to me that there is a need to lend a helping hand to create opportunities for this community in general. There are many successful blacks in this city, but there are many who are not successful, many who would like to be, many who don't understand the process in terms of even doing business with the city. When I looked at it, I recognized that there was a glaring gap that needed to be addressed. And while we were talking about women, high-tech, and other areas and so on, we had not focused on the black community. And I felt that there was a need. I asked the question before we started the Deputy Mayor roundtable about how many black businesses there were in the City of Toronto. And the City of Toronto Economic Development, we did not have that information. And really what it was is that we had not really connected. And so we needed to change that dynamics, change that particular perspective. It's no doubt in my mind that there are many talented people in this city of all race, all background, all culture. What we have failed to do, we actually have failed the black community in this city. And we want now to address that. There's a recognition that that failure has led to many, many issues for families and young people in this city. All of us have an obligation and a responsibility to address that. And I do think that all of us are actually interested in addressing that. The question was, what is the vehicle, what's the process that we need to utilize? This report, along with, in consolidation and collaboration with the City Economic Development Department, working together, is that vehicle to actually assist us in order to help to create opportunities, workforce development, and everything else that we do. I, as a member of the black community in this city, might be successful in some instances, but my success is just a very small aspect of the challenge that exists in the global black community that is in this city. So we have an obligation to ensure that everyone is going to be given a helping hand. That helping hand, by the way, will help everyone in this city, all the businesses, all of the different economic opportunities for buying, selling, trade, creating a prosperous city where no one person or group gets left behind. And so what's happening is this group is interested in the collaborative process to really look at the dynamics of what's necessary to actually assist, to create prosperity, to create hope, to focus on those areas where there are gaping gaps, to be able to address those opportunities and so on. I don't think it's a situation where any of us are shamed into anything, holding our heads down. No, what we are going to do and what we must do is to constructively look at how we formulate ideas to model best practice and opportunities to be able to address these glaring disrepresentation, if you will, as part of the economic pendulum that needs to be shifting into this area, this particular community. And while we focus on this community, we are not suggesting that any other community gets left behind. That's not the case. In fact, what we want to do is to ensure that all communities are represented and understand how to do business with the city. I have been speaking with the folks in Atlanta, New York, and other places like that. We spoke even with our sister city in Austin. The mayor there has a program helping people. And we Deputy Mayor talked about a dinner that we were at last night. There was a discussion, a point was made that the group or the singer, The Weeknd, who signed an $85 million deal at the very table that we had dinner last night, guarantee in the weekends from Scarborough, a young black kid whose parents immigrated to Toronto, creating opportunity. We're not reading about him on a police report. We're not reading about him creating any crime. We're reading about him in whether or not it's Florida, the Fontainebleau, that he's having a concert on the December 31st. Many people want to go to that and so on. We want to see that experience translated for young blacks across the city within business in the context of seeing them doing things. We celebrated a lot of young black athletes going to the Olympics. We want to celebrate them in business because they're part of this homegrown environment to be collaborators and contributors to the success of this city's economy. That's going to happen. For those people who don't want to see it happen, I just say get out of the damn way, because we want to move ahead. Because I know that there are those who don't, but I will just say get out of the way. So this report is going to continue to create that opportunity and allow staff to work with you. I look forward to the staff report coming back for 2016, that we'll be able to address some of these issues and to see those particular programs that are actually working to helping people to make their lives better. And I think that's the objective for every person who resides in this particular city. So those are my comments on this particular issue. And again, thank you both very much for the great work you've done. So members, thank you. We have the item, so I've not moved the motion on this particular item, so I'm just going to ask, did we get a copy of their presentation? It was just a verbal, yeah. Do you have a copy of your presentation at all? Okay, we would like to have that, so I'd like to basically receive the copy of the report, obviously for information, and then we will basically ask. No, yeah, I've moved the recommendations. Right, just check. Yes, thank you. So all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. All right. Now, Councillor Carroll, you had an idea about the rest of the agenda? I'll entertain that.
I'm holding the item on the 150th, only to move that quick motion on behalf of Councillor
Ainsley?
Wong-Tam.
Oh, Councillor Wong-Tam has,
Yes.
okay. Did
Councillor Ainsley
know?
knows about it. That's why
Okay.
Councillor Ainsley dropped by. I was just checking to make sure
That's your-
that
okay.
was in fact the reason. Which is simply, this is something that's already being worked on. This makes it official. That the General Manager of Economic Development and Culture to explore support for the Toronto Biennale of Art as part of the Canada 150 related initiatives and activities, and work with the City Manager as needed to include any related 2016-2017 budget requests.
Okay, I just wanted to have a comment from staff. Mr. Williams, comment? Okay, all right.
Yeah, yep.
So that's what we want to do with that one? Okay. And there is nobody else to speak to that particular item, just to confirm?
I don't think so.
Yep. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. So we varied in order to deal with that item. Councillor, are you leaving us then?
No, I can stay.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, just give me 1 second, Councillor Carroll. Let me just flip over to that. Okay. So we're moving into that next, yeah.
I want to deal with 5.
All right, so, members?
Did we move there's a rewording of the fireworks motion? Was that moved? That item's
But Councillor, we're
adopted?
going to continue with the agenda. We're now 8.4.
Well, I just thought you're going to be tight for quorum, so I was just trying to get some quick ones done. So, yes, I know. I spoke to Ms. Dyson. I was just trying to
Okay,
make
so
sure.
okay, fair enough. Okay, so
Fireworks item is adopted?
okay, sorry. But we have speakers on that.
Oh, we do? Oh, okay.
He's not here?
Yeah, it's Miroslav. So let's just adopt.
All right, okay, fair.
Haven't seen him all morning. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, item 11 and item 12, the speaker is Miroslav Glavich, and he hasn't appeared in this committee room all morning.
Okay, so then if there are no other speakers to this issue and members have no particular questions or comments and so on, if we can deal with them as a quick item then? Is that what you're suggesting, Councillor Carroll? Okay, so do you want to move that, Councillor Rakadakis? Would you move item
Yes,
number
I'll
11?
move the recommendations in my letter.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And then we move to item number 12. Councillor Kelly, did you want to move that? Okay, Councillor Kelly is moving item number 12, which is the additional 3D Toronto signs. All those, it's a report, yeah. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, so members, when I check my listing, I now have, Madam Clerk, I'll just confirm with you, we have now basically 3 items left, is that correct?
Design exchange,
Yep.
music board, yep.
3 items, okay. All right, now we have 3 items left, members. We are now going to go to ED 8.4, which is the design exchange. Ms. Levy, you're here. Please come forward.
I gotta go.
I'm going to suggest that we are going to try to, sorry, just one moment, Ms. Levy. So, Councillor Davis, did you?
I have to go, I'm sorry, and I have been waiting for 8.5 as well as the other deputants, and I didn't know there was a speaker, so.
Yeah, no,
I
I
passed on
apologize.
my motion to
But you've got your motion. We'll take care of that.
Councillor Fragedakis.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Levy, would you come forward, please? Okay, so I'm going to ask, you've got 5 minutes to present. Yes.
I hope there's a video.
I think they said they needed 10.
Well, Ms. Levy has 5, but she has two other individuals with them, so you can take another 5. So that will give you the 10 that you need. But you have 5. Please proceed. Is your mic on, Ms. Levy?
I just wanted to introduce Christopher Wine.
Hi, on my day job, I'm the president of Great Gulf, but I actually sit on the board of the Design Exchange as a volunteer.
Thank you.
And their treasurer. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, you please proceed. Hi.
I wanted to thank Councillor Thompson and the committee for your support last year and the last number of years. I also wanted to thank the staff, Mike Williams, Lori, Terry, and the team. You've all been fantastic to work with, and thank you. We have a little update on DX, and then I have a little presentation on an upcoming project we wanted to share. Do I keep it held down the whole time?
Yeah, no, now it's good.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so here we go. Just quickly, we're going to run through the strat plan that was approved by the city and by the DX Board of Directors. We'll talk about programming, finance, and our new project. In terms of the strategic plan update, we've spent the last number of years securing new leadership, strengthening and diversifying the board, generating an additional $500K in net revenue, which we'll address shortly, and developing a plan for long-term economic sustainability. We did a real estate analysis of the building to figure out the best use for the building. We've been able to generate additional rental income to support the programming using the Bay Street location to expand design programs and events. And we've also adopted a satellite strategy whereby we're creating exhibitions outside of the building to beyond our physical location. In terms of programming, we've developed a comprehensive programming plan with direct connections to a marketing plan, which is obviously important because it is about bums and seats and eyeballs. And we've also been implementing a new and young patron strategy, which we'll get to shortly as well. In terms of on-site programming, we've been developing the permanent collection. It's now available exhibited free in the lobby of the DX on Bay Street, so people can learn about the heritage of Canadian design. We're the only museum really in Canada, in the world, in fact, that has a collection dedicated exclusively to Canadian design. And we've also received a modest grant this year to expand the collection. And again, that's free and accessible to everyone coming in the building. We do a whole bunch of programs to support small E education. We believe it's important to educate a young demographic on the importance of innovative thinking and creative thought. We do competitions nationally for high schools, provincially with university and college students. And we've launched an emerging designer competition in its second year. The next opening for that is on the 7th. You're all invited. We also do a series of talks, tours and workshops, and design camps for all ages. Off-site programming was actually something that Councillor Thompson and I discussed about 3 years ago, and it's been quite successful. And essentially, it's a community outreach program. TD Bank has joined us in support of that program. We work with organizations like CAMH, the Remix Project, John Poliani Collegiate Institute, Skills for Change, and other community centers located within the various wards throughout the GTA, allowing access to programming for children and youth and adults at risk who don't normally have access to this type of programming. It's been incredibly successful, and we've had a great response to it. We've also did 2 exhibitions this year off-site. The first one on architecture and the role of 3D printing on architecture and the world in which we're living. We also worked with the Pan Am Games, and we were a Panamania project, doing an exhibition in the distillery on the innovation behind sportswear that ran throughout the summer. And a thank you to the city and to the province for their support of that project. In terms of press and social media, we've received over 158 million impressions through media coverage through those 2 exhibitions in particular, and our following on social media platforms has grown by 59%. So once again, attendance is one piece, but of course, creating that kind of awareness for what we're doing in the City of Toronto is another piece of that. And now I'll hand it over to Chris, who will give you the financial update.
Thank you. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. So as volunteer treasurer, it's really been a good news story this year. So for 2015, we've expanded fundraising with 2 significant new fundraisers. Monogram Dinner by Design, we netted $50,000, and then the DX Design Auction, we netted $100,000. Those are events that will continue on an ongoing annual basis. And then DS Intersection, which has been going for quite a while, netted $155,000. Additionally, we were able to raise board contributions to approximately $250,000 per year. So other positive things, higher net rental income, it's up 11%, was secured through the satellite approach. So again, taking the exhibitions to the people rather than having them all come to our facility allowed us to create more rental income. Membership revenue is up 43%. Donations, contributions, and sponsorships are up 33%. And public sector project funding, because of the Pan Am Games, is up 59%. So design exchanges is where the really good news story comes in. So as of 2013, we had about a $600,000 deficit. In 2014, we had a $373,000 deficit. This year, we're projecting a $50,000 deficit, and in 2016, we're looking at being in the black at a $92,000 surplus. So the organization is moving in the right direction. So then with respect to economic sustainability, we still have not secured long-term government funding for our operating funding. However, through programming grants, fundraising, and corporate sponsorship, we're continuing to see a strong revenue model. Exhibitions are transitioning to interventions and installations held in public and community spaces funded by sponsorship. The nice thing about this is it allows us to gain rental revenue from our facility, but in addition to that, it takes our exhibitions to the people rather than forcing the people coming to us. Philanthropy continues to increase, but we still want to make a significant impact in that. And then corporate sponsorship is strong as long as it's tied to programming. So as we all know, we had a loss of a $500,000 developers grant that ran for approximately the last 25 years. This past year, to resolve that, we were able to get $200K from the City of Toronto. Thank you very much. In addition, the $100K from the new design auction that's going to run annually, the $100K in net rental income, $50K in Dinners by Design, a new initiative that's going to run annually, and then our corporate membership drive produced another $50,000. So moving forward and beyond, we're going to continue with the satellite strategy. We think that that is a great way to introduce the innovation and design of our city and of our country to the broadest possible audience. We were able to negotiate a better lease with Cadillac Fairview, where they took back the unused basement space that we didn't need, so that saves us $100K a year in fundraising in perpetuity, or in budget in perpetuity. And then finally, our occupancy and labor costs are reduced because of taking this satellite approach. So what does all this mean going forward? We will achieve a budget surplus in 2016. We'll be able to expand our design projects and programming. We are going to hire what's much needed full-time development manager to help with corporate sponsorship and fundraising. We will reduce our accumulated deficit to less than 15% of revenues by 2018. And the most exciting part, which we're going to talk to briefly right now, is we want to refocus our energies to EDIT, which is the Expo for Design, Innovation, and Technology, for June 2017. Thank you.
Okay, so the strat plan that that was endorsed and accepted by the board in 2011 recommended that we focus on being a design museum, an institution that was public-facing. And then the second piece of it was to launch a design festival. In the very same year, in 2011, the city's Creative Capital Gains report also included a recommendation for a design festival as a way of promoting our city's creative communities and diverse communities. And so we've come together to present to you this new project that we are planning for Canada 150 for the Sesquicentennial in 2017. It's called EDIT, Expo for Design, Innovation and Tech, which of course talks about the three disciplines, but also refers to the fact that it is an edited, curated experience. I have a little short video for you, Councillor Kelly, and then we'll follow with the presentation. Where's my,
I gotta shake it to the one. I gotta shake it to the one. I gotta shake it to the two. I gotta shake it to the two. I gotta shake it to the three. I gotta shake it to the three. I gotta shake it with you. Gotta shake it with me.
Shouldn't it be shaking it to the 6 as opposed to the 3?
I need my tech support person.
All right, so you've got like 2 minutes.
Okay, so here we go. Expo for Design, Innovation, and Tech. Okay, my tech is not happening. I'm sorry. So it's a 10-day Biennale that takes place in June 2017. It celebrates the intersection of design, innovation, and technology as a way of addressing today's global issues. Our goals are education, engagement, and growth. It's a cultural design festival, a technology fair, a product and innovation showcase, an architecture expo, and a global platform. EDIT 2017, guest curated by contemporary cultural leaders and popular cultural icons, is located in Toronto. However, it is a world-scale festival that provides meaningful, provocative thinking about global issues. It's an edit of the best design, innovation, and technology thinking, projects, experiences, the world's best new, innovation for tomorrow, and the notion that tomorrow will be better for all. This is the landscape of what exists in terms of experiences worldwide. There is no event like this. It's a hybrid experience that combines elements of a TED, so global thinking, meaningful conversations, with opportunities for our cities, startups, and new businesses to demonstrate what they're doing in the tech, innovation, and design sector, like a CES, and a rich cultural experience like a Venice Biennale. There are various aspects to it: immersive installations, interactive experience, architecture, a legacy project that gives back to the city, the province, a space for innovation, discovery, lots of programming for kids, families, an opportunity for businesses to showing what they're doing in those sectors. We met with the UN last week in New York, and they have confirmed that they will be endorsing and partnering with us on this project. We will be aligning it with the UN Global Goals for Sustainable Development. The theme in 2017 will center around the definition of prosperity for all, the notion that no one will be left behind, looking at food, shelter, environment, transportation, education, health, and so forth, so that we can look at how design, innovation, and tech are coming up with solutions for it. You want me to stop?
Yes. Thanks.
Can I get to the budget?
No, thanks. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Visiting members, seeing none? Okay. Committee members, President, please.
What you were asking for from the city for this?
So the budget for EDIT is a private-public budget is the proposal. And so we're looking at funding it privately through corporate sponsorship, through a donation program, through participation fees, ticket sales, and so forth. In terms of the public sector, we are looking for all three orders of government to support us with this initiative, given that it is a Canada 150 project, and it is a way of positioning the city, the province, and the country in a very unique way. The ask from all three orders of government is to the tune of $6 million.
Over the course of the next 2 years.
over a two-year period. And it is a 2-year project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Carroll?
Just to be clear, that what you just asked is not in the recommendations now, but these recommendations lead to that. Coming back with your financial results and strat plan in a further report is what gets us there, or do we need, you've got a plan to, okay. I was wondering about that, but Councillor Fragedakis, I think, is going to illuminate with the motion.
All right, great. I just want to make sure I'm clear. The ask of 6 is not from each level, but it's a total of 6.
That's correct.
It's two per, presumably. Or you can get 4 from the feds or 4.5 from the feds.
Correct.
Less from the province, because it's Canada's birthday after
Correct,
all, right?
after all.
All right. Councillor Fragedakis, you have a motion. So sorry, just before you, so there are no further questions on presentation? Okay. All right, so we are now going to speak, and there are visiting Councillor Won-Tam. No? What do you have Councillor Raymond Cho in front of you, this name? He's not here, so please. Okay, so Councillor Fragedakis, you have the floor.
So I have a motion in addition to the ones that are actually before us, and that's that the General Manager of Economic Development and Culture be requested to explore funding for the inaugural festival. I think it's a really exciting project and a really exciting opportunity for our city to host an event such as this. Shortly thereafter, on the heels of the Pan Am Games, I think that it's something that we certainly can do to highlight much of what our council endorsed 2 weeks ago, if it was 2 weeks ago, in the poverty reduction strategy. And I think a lot of this stuff about prosperity for all and leaving no one behind will be addressed in this exhibit.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Any further speakers? Councillor Kelly?
I want to support the motion and thank the deputies for appearing today. I think that healthy, creative design exchange is going to be an important part of the cool brand that Toronto, the 6, is going to present to the world in the upcoming years. So thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. Okay, so final speaker, that would be me. Thank you very much, Ms. Levy, for your continued good work. Thank you to Chris and other members of the board for obviously working diligently in addressing some of the challenges that the DX has experienced over the years. We have, in fact, come a long way. We've seen it firsthand. I want to thank Mike Williams and his team and so on, the collaboration, the work that has gone into your business plan, your strategic plan, et cetera, going forward. But I think creativity is the word. Innovation is another word. And summing all of those things as it relates to the DX is that moving forward as it relates to the future of the organization bodes well in that your event that you have now gone out and seeked the UN support and others and so on. And I like the notion of prosperity for all, because this is what we've been talking about and so on, really speaks to that. We know fundamentally the arts and the creative sector and the cultural component that really makes this city such an outstanding place, not simply to live, but to work and to travel, for people to visit and so on. The Design Exchange has obviously a way to go in terms of ensuring that you're always in the black. We like you being in the black, quite frankly, because the other challenge for us is trying to figure out how do we help you and so on, amongst a myriad of other things that we have to do. And clearly there is a place in this city for a continued evolving, developed Design Exchange to feature a bit of our heritage, tradition. You talk about the fashion and the works of the varying designers that you're on permanent display and so, which I think is extremely important, but also as an environment for a lot of our residents to be able to see and to participate in and to be able to be involved in and so on. So collaborating is something that we're doing. I hope that your letters to the new Prime Minister is already written and signed, and certainly I know that you met with the mayor and had some discussion about this, and I think that, to my understanding, he's very supportive, and I think that's terrific. And all of us here are very supportive in terms of what you're about to embark on. We want to help the design exchange succeed, because when that happens, everyone else also succeed as well. And if we talk about the city being creative and innovative, Councillor Kelly and I, in reference to dinner that we attended last night with a whole series of young, very, I would say, rich entrepreneurs and so on, Councillor Kelly, in terms of the .com and tech sector group and so on that were there, talking about the reasons why they love this city. And Benny, you're talking about the reasons why they don't want to move to Silicon Valley, all the things that we actually have that are really unique to our city and so on. So we have to continue to enhance that. We have to continue to develop that rich cultural milieu that is necessary for a city like ours to be able to retain and keep people here and attract young innovators and talented people in the city. These are some of the elements that actually are part of that ingredient for success. So I thank you for that, and we look forward to working with you. So I'm going to move receipt of your presentation, and the item that we actually have here is that, we're going to move the amendment that's in front of us from Councillor Frakadakis. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried, okay. And so clause as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. And Chris, thank you very much for your support. Cavalcade Lights, I understand your company. Would you maybe just give us an overview as to the name of your company again and your support for the Cavalcade of Lights?
Sure. So our company is Great Golf. So we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. We're a private builder, one of North America's largest, headquartered and founded in Toronto. All the owners still live in Toronto, and we are now on our third year of Cavalcade. And I come every year and light the tree with my little 8-year-old daughter. It's fantastic. And we're big supporters of that. We'll continue to do that, hopefully, for the next decade as well. We're also supporters of Doors Open. We're the presenting sponsor of Doors Open. So the one last thing I'll say, Michael, just to echo what you said about the amazing creativity and design and different fields of architecture and technology and such, because we're a North American-wide company, we actually take local architects and local designers and local landscape architects and consultants, and we export their innovation to places like Florida, Dallas, Atlanta, Washington, D.C. So it's amazing, and around all those world-class cities, like D.C., for instance, they're amazed at the level of architecture and talent and design that is created right here in Toronto. So we do have some of the world's best here and should celebrate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. 8.5. Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have, in essence, only 2 items left, and we have 10 minutes. I think we have sufficient time to be able to complete the 2 items. So we're moving now to, I hope, I should say, we're moving now to 8.5, redesigning the vacant commercial and industrial tax relief program. Tina Schertz, I'm not sure if I pronounced that, pardon? Schertz, Tina Schertz, from Wood Green Community Center. Would you please come forward? Thank you. And you are with?
Our company.
Okay, no problem. Welcome. I'll start your time. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, the committee. So having worked as a local community economic development coordinator on the pop-up shop project along Danforth Avenue, I have seen the impact of persistent commercial vacancies on neighborhoods. Long stretches of empty storefronts discourages pedestrians and shoppers, contributing to the decline of the local economy. The Danforth East Community Association developed the pop-up shop project, which has sought to reverse this trend, convincing owners of vacant properties to offer up their spaces and infuse the area with new energy. As a local community service agency, Wood Green has stepped up to support this work with funding from the Metcalf Foundation. Since 2012, this project has hosted 29 pop-up shops, incubated 6 new businesses, and seen the commercial vacancies drop from 17% to 19% in less than 9%, thank you, in a 1.5-year period. We are glad to see the work that has been done to date on the vacant unit rebate issue by both the province and the city. There is currently an appetite for the city to shift towards a policy that encourages creative solutions that address local economic development. For instance, on November 10th, we hosted an event with over 150 people from across the city and other municipalities called Building Vibrant Main Streets and the Power of Local. One of the key policy questions discussed there was the vacancy unit rebate. People from across Toronto, the GTA, and provincial organizations expressed their frustration with the rebate and its effects on Main Street commercial areas. Within our own pop-up shop project, the vacancy unit rebate has worked against our efforts to activate empty storefronts with short-term businesses. We have direct experience with 2 well-intentioned property owners who have indicated that the commercial vacancy tax rebate prevented them from readily participating in the project. While they appreciate the efforts to bring new energy to the street, they are challenged to find a way to participate if it doesn't make financial sense. In particular, one developer cited these challenges in a letter recently submitted to the CODA legislation review. In it, he indicates, as the zoning and sales process for redevelopment projects can be quite lengthy, there is often a 1 to 2 year time gap between the acquisition of the property and the start of construction. In most cases, developers such as myself struggle to lease out the vacant space in effort to obtain even a minimal amount of rent through the utilization of short-term leases. However, the barrier is set quite high, and in many cases, the trade-off between receiving the minimal rent and the fear of losing the vacant unit tax rebate often dissuades us from pursuing any efforts to lease the space at all. This leaves developers with stretches of vacant storefronts underutilized as they wait years for demolition. As you can see, appealing to a property owner's goodwill can only go so far when financial incentives don't support the public good. In my experience, the commercial vacancy tax rebate was cited by at least one other Danforth property owner who declined participation in our project, and is most certainly a factor with other property owners who are not so bold as to mention it. At the local level, the very existence of this tax rebate is often cited by retailers and residents as a frustrating policy, feeding the perception that it contributes to the economic decline of commercial main streets. Opinions to this effect have even been echoed from the other side of the world. Author of Creating Cities and empty space innovator Marcus Westbury, whose vision helped transform Newcastle, Australia from a shell of a city to being listed on Lonely Planet's top list of top 10 cities to visit in 2011, recently tweeted, "The tax incentives to keep buildings empty in Ontario is pretty much the stupidest thing I have ever seen in all my travels." Given the current CODA legislative review, we are at an exciting time with real opportunity to develop new and creative ways to address local economic development issues. Persistently vacant commercial properties are like gaps in the toothy smile of a main street. More than 1 or 2 just doesn't look good. Vacant storefronts also undermine local businesses who are trying to make a go of it, the efforts of budding entrepreneurs looking for a way to break in, and the welcomingness of our city's main streets. We need policies that encourage and incent property owners to adopt innovative uses for their vacant storefronts, such as our pop-up shop model. Or what about putting those rebates to better use and capturing those dollars at the community level? Fund local community economic development committees who would work at the local level to best meet the needs of that particular neighborhood. The city has offered in the past to bring together a working group who could examine ideas such as these more closely. Let's see some action on this. Bring together creative thinkers to help shape this opportunity in front of us, working together to build a city with strong and vibrant main streets. Neighborhood retail contributes to resilient, sustainable neighborhoods. Let's do everything we can to foster this and ensure that we develop a Toronto-focused solution that will meet the specific needs of Toronto neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Oh, sorry, you have a question, Councillor?
No, I'm just looking at the time. Could I suggest we extend to finish, if you're
I was done.
already thinking about that?
I am thinking about that, but I just wanted to ask if there were any questions, and that would be next. Okay, great, thank you. All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, Councillor, you beat me to the punch. I'm going to ask for a motion to extend to finish. We have essentially 2 items left, this one and another, and then the dashboard, I think, is just a quick release. Is that okay? All right, are there any questions on this items for staff? For staff? Okay, all right, let's just do, the DCM has to go to another meeting, and the GM is here, so I'll give him a moment to sit in his chair, and he's ready to go. He's giving me the thumbs up. Councilor Frакadakis.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair. So through you to the general manager, you know, we've been discussing this issue since 2011. And at this committee, it's almost as long as I've been here, and Councillor Wong Tam has been here, and others. But in 2014, at City Council meeting in May, there were a number of items before us as it related to this issue. And then as part of that, on page 3, number 4, A to D, that was passed by council, and I'm just wondering why that hasn't happened.
So certain elements of that recommendation have happened. Staff have looked into a number of the issues. In terms of a working group and in terms of in-depth community consultation, there has been some of that consultation going on, but we've been in conversations with the province, and those kind of conversations have lasted a lot longer than any of us would have liked. They are now taking this seriously, this issue. They've formed a working group, and they're doing consultations with other governments and with privates and with industry and development industry. And so when we get a little bit better sense of that, we will be able to move more quickly on this item. I believe that there's a recommendation coming forward, and I'm comfortable with that recommendation, which really re-puts some of the same things back on the table, but we're going to be in a better position in the next few months to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Again, to speak, Councillor?
So I have a motion, Councillor Davis asked me to move, and if it's- put it on the screen. I won't go to the trouble of reading it, but it's basically what we adopted as a council in May of 2014, item number 4, restated. I mean, we were committed in 2014. We've been committed all along. We'd like to see some action on this. I know that lots of people in the communities across this city are desperate for this to happen because there's lots of empty storefronts that are plaguing a lot of our neighborhoods, and they're not really contributing to the vibrancy. And so anything that can be done to speed this along to help those groups who are trying to help the city to improve itself is certainly something that I support.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor. All right. Okay. So we have the motion. And are there any questions? No? Okay. Yes, the general manager is fine. It's the same motion. It's the same item. It's a little bit of, okay. So, okay. It's just, all right. So the staff is fine with it. So the motion on the screen, all those in favor? Oppose? Clause as amended? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Sorry. Oh, it's, you know, it's for, it's amending the item. It's for receipt. Okay, you're adding this motion. We're moving receipt of it, so. Okay. All right. Okay, so we are then now moving to our item ED 8.13. Sorry, yes, yes. So there is a presentation by staff, and then we will allow for, we have speakers. But we will, Mr. Sheikh, you'll do their presentation first. Okay. And we are going to now just move to, we're going to, we're now 12:30. It is, we did accept. I just want to make sure. So, go ahead. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Chair, and thanks, everyone. I'm going to try to keep this as smooth flowing and as quick as possible. We have our three Toronto Music Advisory Council members that will be speaking, so they're pertinent to this conversation. You have, of course, an in-depth report that we're presenting to committee. I'm just going to take you through sort of an overview, a quick overview, some highlights, some opportunities, threats as we move forward from 2015 into 2016, and then we'll move into our speakers, and then, of course, our Sector Development Officer, our Music Sector Development Officer, Mike Tanner, and myself will be there for questions along with other city staff and our general manager, of course. All right, so first of all, I just want to thank everyone who's supported this initiative at Economic Development and Culture at the City of Toronto to have a music-specific, not only energy, but also team members. It's really important to have the mayor, to have the chair of Economic Development and Culture, to have staff on this, and we look forward to annually presenting a music sector report. This is, of course, our first, and I'm very proud of that. And a big thanks to Mike Tanner and our Film and Entertainment Industries team who helped support this. And of course, our policy team at ECDEV, Ben McIntosh is sitting beside me. He's going to help us run through the presentation. So Ben and I are going to try to be a good team for you. Wanted to give you a quick overview of what the Film and Entertainment Industries team looks like, only to give you a sense that we actually all work together. Music, film, event support, tourism and visitor services, those were thought of from the city and ECDEV, General Manager Mike Williams and the chair, that we needed to get them together as a team, and so that's what's happening. So you'll look at that overview of what we look like, and we all work together. There is as per the financial impact portion of the report, you'll see that part of our plans as we move forward obviously are inclusive of what happens at budget timelines and budget decisions. But we're going to give you a snapshot of what we did in 2015 based on the resources and what we're looking forward to 2016. And of course, with more ideas comes more necessity for resources. So we're going to move forward to what Toronto looks like. Quick snapshot of Toronto music by the numbers. Toronto is the #1 music city in Canada, and definitely one of the top 5, if not the top 3 in North America. So we look at a 2014 impact from the Toronto Star. Toronto alone generated $700 million. Number of live venues, 450. You can see there's 115 core, 350 secondary or occasional, and these are varying in size, of course. We have large venues, small venues, all shapes and sizes, with all sorts of genres being played in them and business models. From the for-profit to the not-for-profit, obviously. Also, in terms of the percentage of Canadian recording industry's 2013 estimate, 800 million, Toronto's output was 80%, so that's a fair chunk. Now we'll give you kind of across Canada, just so you're aware of what's going on across the country in terms of music. These are some of our stats from our Independent Music Association, CIMA. The revenue generated, Canadian-owned music industry, 292 million. The contribution to GDP, 300 million. And you'll see the number of people employed in the independent sector, 13,500. Live sector, which is a very big, robust economy, economic impact, but also much more importantly, economic activity. You'll see that the revenue generated by the live music sector was 455 million, and that's PwC stats there. And then the growth is 6.4%, again from PwC, and percentage of national live revenues attributed to Ontario is 80% and up from 65 within 10 years. So that's a big chunk of numbers there for you. Over to now looking at what we do or have done and did do in 2015 and are in the process of finalizing as we move into 2016, some of the activities at Film and Entertainment Industries. We worked with partner divisions across the city. Now that we have dedicated music team here at the city, we were able to work with our fellow divisions at MLS, Parks, and other partner divisions to help start the process of streamlining city regulation regulations as they currently relate to postering fines, noise bylaw, and park permits. But of course, there's a number of things that a city has to do, not just in terms of financial resources, but systemic ease, protocol, regulation ease as it relates to certain industries, and music is definitely one. So these are just the beginnings of what our music team was able to influence, affect, support, encourage, what have you. One of the big features and programs we announced with our 311 partners was Music 311. Obviously, we all know what 311 is, how important that service is to the city. So now when you call in, and if you're a resident or business on hold, what you'll get is an actual Toronto artist. You'll hear that music as opposed to some sort of Muzak or some sort of other international. You'll hear Toronto bands, and that's a big deal. We're following in the footsteps of great cities like Ottawa, and we're hoping to make that even more robust as we move forward. You'll again see all these programs, much more detail outlined in the actual report that accompanies this presentation. Another big program was Live from City Hall, which we just sort of previewed earlier this month, last month I should say, and will be full launching in the new year in 2016, and that's Live from City Hall. We worked with Facilities Division, and of course, again, this is Toronto bands playing in the Rotunda for a live audience. It's free, and it's really going to activate our Rotunda in a way that already happens, but very specifically with the bands from Toronto across the wards, across genres. That's really important to us. And there are ways to be part of that program, both Music 311 and Live from City Hall on the toronto.ca/music site. Then, of course, we go to South by Southwest activations in Austin, and that's because Toronto and Austin have signed the world's first Music Cities Alliance. And South by Southwest is an important part of the stakeholder relationship between Toronto and Austin. And so we had the mayor, the councilor, the chair, other councillors with us last year and reinvigorated that Music Cities Alliance, and we'll continue our relationship with South by Southwest in Austin as we move forward. Another program that we did, we worked with, South by Southwest, it's important to announce that we worked not only with our Toronto Music Advisory Council, but also CIMA, the Independent Music Association. A Tale of Two Cities, the next program, we work with the Remix Project, presenting 3 emerging Toronto artists in Chicago, and bringing then 3 Chicago emerging artists to Toronto. And just earlier this year, those 2 events happened in both Chicago and Toronto. They were very successful, and we're looking forward to continuing a program because Chicago, of course, is one of our sister cities as well. Then we also, our team works on aligning with Ontario's music strategies. We have a very healthy relationship on the film and entertainment side with the Ontario Media Development Corporation that oversees music on the provincial side, and of course we work with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport on the Live Music Task Force, and that's really important that Toronto sits in line with the province, helps affect, again, encourage and support the policies that come from Ontario, because as we all know, the province affects us so. And the final thing, but certainly not the least, as Mike Tanner can tell you on any given day, is the client service that we take on. And when I say client service, I really mean every service that you can imagine that any music resident, artist, small association, large association, a conglomerate, or domestic or international would want in some way, shape, or form. They're usually looking for a person named Mike Tanner, and they're usually looking to ask him something. And we also, of course, work with our councillors and council and mayors. So whether they're fielding requests for music or whether we're fielding them, they go through ECDEV and our Film and Entertainment Industries office, and specifically in the Rotunda with Mike Tanner and our team there. So that's a pretty big thing that we do. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of the preview that happened at Live from City Hall. This is a Toronto band, Ferraro, and they were awesome. Ben, hit it. There There you go, big hand for Ferraro, live from City Hall. We're very excited about this program. As you can see, maybe from the video clip, TD is a supporter of that, and that's a big step for us to have sponsorship from outside, working with inside, programs from our music team. I'm going to take you over to sector opportunities now, what we're looking ahead to, how we can work better as a city to hopefully activate more fully the music scene, the music industry, and artists. First of all, in the first quarter of 2016, our Toronto Music Advisory Council and we at the music team here at Film and Entertainment Industries will present to committee, hopefully, the plans to adopt a comprehensive music strategy. And the members who are speaking may mention that a little more in detail, but look forward to that in the first quarter of 2016, and it's going to be robust. We're going to have a public consultation process. Of course, it's ongoing, and it's got some great ideas, and I think you'll all support it. We're also going to be planning on updating and working with our fellow divisions in planning and the permitting side and MLS in terms of the policies, and relook at them and see if they can be modified, updated, amended, what have you, to really focus on how to help the music industry, music artists, and venues. And then, of course, specifically towards the venue items, we're looking at licensing. It's a very, can be confusing, can be a sort of a maze, if you will, can be very clear in moments and very confusing at the next, and we're going to work with the industry and hopefully our partner divisions to really clarify and amend where we can the music venue licensing policies that the city has. And I really want to thank again the Mayor, Edie, ECDEV Committee, the Chair, because we've had the good fortune of being really supported by councillors and City Council and committees throughout, and definitely divisions too. Of course, with opportunities, there are always threats. And the music industry, I think, has been very vocal and active in letting the city know, well before I got to work at the city and well before Mike Tanner got to work at the city, but when he was part of the industry outlining some of these threats, they haven't disappeared. But what's great is that we now have a team at the city who can help the industry move forward and address those threats, hopefully, in a real positive manner. So, key threats, slow regulatory reform. We're going to need to hopefully not just speed up the process of finding out where we can amend things, but also really streamlining the processes themselves and being efficient about that on both sides. And we'll work with the industry, and hopefully we'll allow the industry to work with us. Current zoning regulations and official plan designations. Again, they can be obstacles where they're not dealt with carefully and sensitively with some consultation, some real consultation, not just from obviously the public at large, but in fact industry members and artists themselves. Increasing high-density residential growth. So how that affects what kind of policies get put in motion when that is occurring in a city, how that could restrict or be challenging to the music industry, it's very clear, and the strategy document will try to address that. Lack of large venues. I talked about the many venues the city has, but in fact, we really are missing out on some of the larger venues, and we definitely could have the audience and definitely have the interest domestically and from around the world for us to have larger venues and festival sites. So we should look at that, we think, and definitely the industry thinks. And then, of course, because we're ECDEV and we work with TESS as well, so what's so important to us is the affordability for the artists themselves that make this a great industry in Toronto and Canada. So the cost of living and housing, the accessibility to affordable rehearsal space, the lack of fair compensation, and health and dental benefits. These are all very real threats in a daily life of a musician, and we can and should try to help where we can and should. And then what's almost really startling for me, at least, as we came up with this report, was the poor industry infrastructure for certain genres. And we've listed the genres. We list hip-hop, reggae, and world, and those are three of the biggest selling genres in terms of the revenue they generate, and not to mention that Toronto artists that make up the hip-hop, reggae, and world music scene are world-renowned and making the industry really viable. And those genres are the genres of now, and so hopefully we can, as a city, work with the industry to really affect those infrastructures in a positive manner, because if we're not helping them, and that means they're being successful in spite of us, and that doesn't sound like a positive place. 2016, music goals, film and entertainment industries. really we're working on, and Mike's working on, helping TMAC, our Toronto Music Advisory Council, work on that music strategy. There's 6 working groups. It's very robust. It meets quarterly. The working groups meet monthly. They're very active. We thank them immensely for all their work and support, and they'll be presenting, as I said, in first quarter of the new year. We're going to always be continuing to flex our muscles in how we can conduct and present sector research. This is the first report you're seeing from City Hall internally to the city about music specifically. We're going to keep you updated. We're now hoping to expand our team as, again, budgets allow, and our resources and our connects to the city. We're also going to continue to work with other city divisions. I'm going to wrap it up. We're going to help build music tourism through Tourism Toronto with us, and we're going to increase the visibility of music. And check it out, we're going to enhance music alliances, not just with Austin, but around the world and North America, of course. I'm going to pass it over to our members. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, committee.
Thank you very much. There's a lot to be said and lots going on, and I get your passion and excitement because I'm passionate and excited as well, and I know the other members are and so on. So thank you very much. Okay, so we have 2 speakers. Marianne Blom, who is with Sony Music Entertainment Canada, Inc., and also Andreas Kologiannis from Kologiannis Law, who is our, I know I'm always and I know, and he's also the co-chair of TMAC, and Marianne's also a member. These are 2 amazing people who are working to continue to make this city hip. So you both have 5 minutes.
Sorry,
I don't
Chair.
have Spencer's name.
Oh.
I just have, but if Spencer is on this, then he's good to. He can add. If you want to, Spencer, would you like to come forward and just be part of the group as well? Absolutely. I didn't have Spencer's name. Yeah, that's great. All right. So you each have 5 minutes, and ladies first. Of course.
Ladies, not bad. It's better than ma'am. Okay, so I just wanted to add on to what Zabe has said, and Mike. I head up the strategic planning working group on TMAC, who is putting together the music strategy with the city. And one of the things that you saw the stats that Toronto is Canada's #1 music city by far. 80% of the industry is here. And we are a world music city, but some of that's kind of by fluke and circumstance, and it hasn't been a coordinated effort. And as we gathered information on other global music cities, it became quite clear that there are lots of cities like Melbourne, Australia, Nashville, Mannheim, Germany, who have organized and who have partnered with their city and who are doing extraordinary things that we could do, and that we could really make Toronto one of the absolutely top-tier music cities in the world. So I just wanted to let you know that and encourage you to follow what we're doing on TMAC with the music strategy.
All right. Thank you. Andreas? We can ask questions of all 3 when we're done. Sure. Okay? Just let them speak. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair, and hello, everybody. So as co-chair of TMAC, what I see as one of the most important things that we're doing is a coalescing of the industry and the industry voices. And as TMAC has become increasingly more organized in its working groups and in what it's doing over the past 8 or 9 months, this level of stakeholder engagement within TMAC and also with the representative community has only increased. And I would say that it's this type of engagement with the business and community stakeholders that is the building block for the increased economic activity as the industry strengthens itself to address some of the regulatory, economic, and political issues which may be limiting its growth. And an example of that kind of participation is how TMAC worked with MLS on MLS's noise bylaw review. We held a public consultation in conjunction with MLS. We got feedback from a lot of people in the music industry, from live venue owners, and we heard how certain regulatory and I would say municipal and political issues are affecting their bottom line and their profitability and their ability to grow their music businesses. And as a result of that consultation, TMAC develop a very comprehensive written report, which was spearheaded significantly by Spencer Sutherland, who is very knowledgeable on this issue. And we submitted that report to MLS, and that will be going to Licensing and Standards Committee, we hope. And I mean, so the industry's voice on the noise bylaw issue, and in addition to other issues such as permitting and postering issues as well, was unequivocal and was very strong about their need for review of how the city can help them develop, grow their businesses. And I mean, the other thing I wanted to mention is that TMAC is very well positioned right now to take advantage of the upcoming Ontario culture strategy, which is being developed right now. There are public consultations that are happening from October to December. The one for Toronto was last night, which I attended. And I think right now, because Toronto produces 80% of the Canadian and Ontario music industry. We're a big player in Ontario music. What we'd like to do as a board is help the province deliver some of their strategy items in Toronto and in the GTA area, as well as dovetail our own initiatives with what the province would like to do, so that we can increase the good works and the economic impact of what we're already doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spencer? Spencer Sutherland, right?
Spencer Sutherland, yeah. And I'm here both as a member of the Toronto Music Advisory Council, where I'm the working group leader of the Business Development Group. I'm also on the board of directors of TABIA. I work with it, and I run the Queen West BIA. So I'm actively involved in many of these communities. A vibrant economy relies on a healthy music sector, and the Business Development Group is tasked with analyzing the music sector through an economic lens, and that's why I'm here speaking with you today. We are currently developing our strategy for 2016, and although we have no specific recommendations to bring forth at the moment, we're essentially introducing that 2016 is going to be a busy year, a year that we definitely put Toronto on the map as one of the world's leading music cities, which it already is one, but we intend to keep it that way. So the Business Development Group is looking to measure the growth of the music sector, to improve the use of city assets, concert venues, outdoor parks, to build relationships with the organizations, Tourism Toronto, TABIA, encouraging the individual BIAs to develop music strategies, much as Downtown Yonge has already done, and I'm working with many of the BIAs to try to encourage each neighborhood to look at the growth of music. And of course, to decrease barriers to success, such as the noise bylaw review formal submission that we made, and currently efforts underway to look at the relicensing of music venues and liquor licensing and hospitality. Music is a powerful driver of economic activity that fuels our festivals, enriches our neighborhoods, and fosters a strong daytime and nighttime economy. In short, music is Toronto's most valuable cultural asset, and we thank you for your support.
Okay. Thank you very much. Questions, members of the committee? Councillor Carroll?
Yeah, break down the way TMAC functions for me, because when you look at the actual technical things that have happened, there's all these working groups. I'm a member of TMAC, but not having gone to the first meeting because of a scheduling difficulty, I'm not actually on any of the working groups. But I think it would be helpful for us to understand how it's structured, how all of those groups roll out. Yeah.
So we found it more expedient and efficient to operationalize whatever TMAC has planned through the working groups, because simply put, getting everybody together in a room, in this room, in a couple of times, it's not very productive. And so it's been since we've divided into these working groups that we've seen a lot of movement. I think Chair Thompson can attest to that as well. So the working groups are strategic planning, financing, funding, and sponsorship, of which I'm the lead of that group, business development that Spencer mentioned, advocacy, international alliance, and branding, marketing, and tourism. And so, it's important to note as well that it's through the working groups that we engage with external community stakeholders.
Right.
So when somebody comes to us, and there have been many, many groups and businesses that come to us, we try and streamline their participation or their concerns into the appropriate working group, and we connect them with the lead there, and then it's operationalized that way. And we use the
Right.
bigger meetings just to come together and review what has been happening.
But with that level of activity, getting everybody together, it could happen as seldom as once a year, but all those groups continue to work. We just don't notice it's TMAC meeting day from the council perspective. I'm not being asked to go to any of those working groups, and I don't know if that's because the industry prefers to do the work that way, or there's a gap somewhere. We're all of the councillors that are members of TMAC are on call, but I'm not aware of having been asked to attend any of those.
Okay, well, I
Is that a
think,
broken telephone issue?
Yes.
Okay, so we really need to do something about that. Councillor Cole and I, you as you know, weren't able to attend that. The first meeting was on a TTC meeting day. So I don't know how I've been dropped out of this, but I have not been asked to go to anything since last time I went to a TMAC meeting.
we can certainly fix it. I think it's a broken
Yeah.
telephone issue. I think some counselors were slotted into a working group of their
Yeah.
choosing, and I think some, just by virtue of being, extremely busy, just were not.
Right, so that needs to be, I don't know if I'm the only one, but, and it's true, I have a lot of files, but I'm down the hall. My staff are waiting for the call. The other thing is the initiatives that are happening live at City Hall. The exchange with Chicago means that some concerts happened here. Chicago ones happened here, I understand. Is that TMAC doing that work or staff directly doing that work?
Through the chair, we are directly doing that work with the stakeholders that we activate with, and they tend to be TMAC members to begin with in terms of the lead organizers and that. We really look to TMAC first in terms of all the programming and initiatives that we support either financially or otherwise.
Okay, so now it could be, counselors they're kind of like people in the music industry. We're out every night, but I'm not aware of being invited to any of these things.
So we do.
I don't know if other counselors are having that or not. The reason I ask is not because I'm pouting. It's not like we're sitting around not doing anything as counselors. But the more counselors are exposed, the more they realize why they have to support these things. And we're talking about such things as helping musicians actually be allowed to raise families in Canada and have a music career by looking at things like health and dental. We really need counselors to be exposed and be big champions of this.
Through the chair, we'll revise any processes internally. We are always looking to send out info and talk about details, but we'll make that more robust if that's not getting across.
Yeah, it's got to go to counselors' staff. A tweet to me, I got tweeted that the Ontario consultation was going on last night, but I got tweeted about it 3 hours before it happened. So that doesn't get me there. I've already booked a community meeting. So a way that engages us more, because I know that down the road we're going to get to some pretty innovative, pretty big asks for counselors to wrap their head around. So we're going to have to do a lot of exposure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you agree, Spencer?
I was just going to say that the communication with the councillors is generally done through the chair or through the group leader of the working groups, some of which are more active than others. Yeah. For example, Councillor Cole is on my group, and if he can't attend a meeting, then I'll go meet with him personally to discuss his concerns. So what we'll do is we'll roll out that process to the other working groups to make sure that yourself and every other city councillor is actively engaged.
Start by putting me on one. I'm not on one.
Great. All right. Thank you.
I realize I'm not going to Austin because that's some kind of weird political deal, but I would like to be involved here in our hometown.
Thank you. You too can go to Austin, so there. So, thank you. I want to thank you all very much, certainly for the ongoing work and leadership that has taken place. There's a lot of people who have worked hard. You are part of that collective group. The immense work by Mr. Tanner, Mr. Sheikh, and the whole team. And so there is now that focus in the industry that something is centered here at City Hall and is actually taking place. We want to see that number of 445 million grow much, much higher in terms of the annual revenues that's generated in the industry. We also want to see some of the challenges that has been experienced in the industry be dealt with and so on. And the work that's being done so far with MLS and other collaborative processes that are taking place suggests that we're moving the right direction, and we are going to come with a music strategy for the City of Toronto. There are many other places who want to work with us and collaborate with us because you're right, we've got the talent here. We're 80% of the industry in Canada right in this particular city and so on, and more people want to come in. And the platform that we're creating, that structure, that environment, that foundation is going to be absolutely solidly strong once we have gone through this particular process. So thanks to everybody, and you know, Mike and Zabe, their leadership on this has just been tremendous. I think we've heard from Councillor Carroll that we need to kind of up the communication games a bit so that we have information and people can choose not to attend, not to be involved and so on. That's fine, but at least let's give them the information. And Spencer, the point you made about the committees and the committee chairs sending information out, as long as Zabe and Mike get that information, ensure that we can pass it on, and then people can choose to attend and what have you. So it's really interesting. I mentioned earlier on about what was said to us last night at an event we went to, and the very table we sat at the weekend, the group from Scarborough signed his $85 million guarantee deal. That was phenomenal. There are many other young people out there who are going to be signing deals like that and so on, because the talent certainly is here in the city. We're investing in opportunities. We are doing the music incubator, the first one that I'm aware of in Canada. I've just been contacted by the town of Aurora, the deputy mayor there. He wants to replicate something like that as well. And we want to ensure that we reach out to them so we can create more opportunity, because that linkage, it will create a widespread process of developing new talent and so on throughout the region, in addition to what we do in the city. If you're a leader, it's important to actually bring others along as well. So being leaders, developing this industry here further, working with the talented musicians and all the other people in the industry, because it's a big industry. Not everybody is a musician. Some of them are accountants and promotional folks and lawyers and IT folks and so on, and it's all working extremely well. So I'm very pleased with the work that's been done to date and so on. The item here is essentially, we're being asked to do today is just to receive the information, presentation and so on, and there's more to come. We look forward to the more to come and the great work that's being done by members of the industry and members of council and the team. So I'm going to move receipt of the item. All those in, sorry. Okay, sorry, yeah, okay. So we'll adopt the recommendation that's actually in the report and move the item. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We have one item left, which is the dashboard. There was a letter from Mr. McGuire. We received that letter, and we're going to simply ask for a motion to receive that particular item. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. There are no other items left. I want to thank the staff. Thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to basically move that we basically adjourn this particular meeting. And thank you very much to the outstanding clerk staff and so on for the great work that they continue to do. All right, so all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That's adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.